This is Audible.
Love in a Pickle by L.B. Dunbar. Narrated by Chris Brinkley and Marnie Young.
One. All bets are off, and so are my clothes. March. Scotia. A heaviness presses over me, but not as weighty as my head feels. Lord have mercy, did I drink too much last night? My brain weighs 50 million tons, as does my pasty, swollen tongue behind teeth that feel as fuzzy as a cat's tail. I roll said tongue over dry lips, smacking them in my dehydrated state. You sure were thirsty last night. My stomach roils, and I discover something equally heavy resting over my side, just above my hip. I squirm under the weight, pressing back into something long and thick and protruding into my backside. "Carl," I mutter. "Get off me." My hand reaches for the arm over my midsection, the movement taking all my strength until I touch something else, long, thick, and slightly coarse and curly. My palm skims the length of a solid forearm, allowing the tight curls of hair to prickle my skin. Carl? I'm slow to register the silliness of my thoughts. My husband has been dead for nearly 7 years. "Who's Carl?" a rugged, rumbly voice asks, and two things surprise me at once: the depth of the tenor and the unfamiliarity of it. A twist, knocking my shoulder into a brick wall of male chest, not putting a dent in his position, but making my clavicle ricochet and my head pound harder. "Who are you?" I squeak, wondering how in tarnation a man got in my hotel bed. "You answer me first," he mumbles, still sleep-rough and with his eyes closed. "He's my husband." I never knew how fast a big-bodied man could move, but the speed with which this man scrambles from behind me is record-breaking. He stands at the end of the king-size bed, staring back at me a long moment, eyes blinking until I come into focus to him. The reality of who he is becomes clear to me. "You have a husband?" he chokes, swiping a hand the size of a dinner plate over thick, midnight-colored locks. Despite several swift wipes, his hair refuses to stay in place, and I wonder what it would feel like to run my fingers through those reckless waves. Silence settles between us. He's waiting on an answer from me. My husband is dead." He blinks, eyes dark as rich coffee searching mine. The sympathy in them tightens my chest. "I'm sorry." "He was murdered." It was a case of mistaken identity. I don't know why I offer this information to a complete stranger, but there it is. My husband, Carl Simmons, was wrongfully killed. Is there a rightfully killed? Shaking my head, I dismiss both my crazy question and my sorrowful memory. Carl and I might not have had the best marriage, but we had an understanding. I didn't want to discuss him. The stranger nods, and I take a second to assess him. Broad shoulders under a tight white tee, black dress pants minus a belt, a well-trimmed beard that looks as if it would be unruly like his hair within another day. "You're Chester Chesterfield," I blurt. The corner of his lips tweaks upward, crooked and sarcastic. "That's right. Thanks for remembering." How could I forget? Chester Chesterfield was the esteemed guest and keynote speaker at the Tennessee Entrepreneur Conference yesterday evening, where the honor for Outstanding Female-Led Small Business Owner of the Year was awarded. I was a nominee, but I didn't win. I'm not bitter. Nope, not at all. Chester Chesterfield, however, is a prize in and of himself, rumored to be a tycoon in petroleum oil, and not to be confused with petroleum jelly, the moisturizing kind. He spoke about the benefits and necessity of locally owned small businesses as important to a community and to Tennessee as a whole. Easy for him to say, though, as he's worth millions from a business I can't imagine remains small. "I'm Scotia Simmons," I tell him, as if he might not remember me. Then again, he was in my bed, so I hope he knows my name at least. My eyes travel to his belt region, noting once again the lack of one. Did we? I clutched the bedsheet. I'd already been grasping higher up my chest, realizing how very naked I am underneath the soft material. Minus all but my underwear, I'm nearly as bare as the day I was born. He shakes his head, and relief washes over me. Thank goodness. Then another thought occurs. Why didn't we? I mean, he's Chester Chesterfield, known rogue lover at this event. Last night started when I met up with a few other female entrepreneurs, and the first round of drinks included a discussion on the famous one-night lover. Who will be his lucky conquest this year? One woman snickered. Oh, Leslie, you only wish it could be you, another snarked. If only he was a repeat offender, the last one sighed, and the other two turned to her wanting details. My eyes found him sitting quietly by himself at the bar. The large, solitary man gave off a vibe of untouchable but incredibly sad. Not pathetic, just sad. He was dark everywhere. Hair, eyes, facial expression. And I was curious. I didn't know if any of the lady's remarks were true, but somehow Chester Chesterfield became my mission for the night. Get laid. What would uninhibited passion feel like? Would two sweaty bodies combining in raw desire be a fulfilling connection? Or would I be disappointed again by a man? Recalling the stiff length pressed into my backside only moments ago, I should know satisfaction would be guaranteed. I also should have immediately known it was not Carl, not in girth or firmness or enthusiasm. Carl rarely got it up for me. Ironic, considering where he was when his death occurred, but that's neither here nor there for right now. I'm staring at Chester as all these thoughts race through my head, and I'm waiting on an answer. Your art of seduction needs some polishing. His teasing voice is gravel while his body is a boulder. Meaning, I snap, but I wince. My head throbs too much for sass. My art is just fine. I work out 6 days a week. It takes dedication to be this physically fit at almost 48. I wear pretty lacy things under my clothing to empower me. And again, I can't fully recall how we ended up in this bed after 3 strong gin and tonics. Perhaps my verbal finesse faltered somewhere. Puking on a man's shoes isn't sexy. I didn't, I huff in disbelief, while appalled with myself when I realize I did. I recall lots of flirty banter and eye contact in the bar. We made it up the elevator and down the hall to my room. Then that's where I get fuzzy. Where's my dress? Becoming hyper-aware of my nakedness under the sheet, I glare back at him as his left brow rises higher, and a spark comes to those swirling brown eyes that drew me to him. No, I whisper, awareness slowly dawning on me. I made a mess on my dress. It's hanging over the rod in the shower. You washed out my dress? I'm surprised at the sweet gesture while biting back my mortification. I threw up on my own dress. Well, there's your lack of seduction skills, Scotia. He shrugs, looking away from me, and I take in his profile. Burly and buff, I want to curl myself around that barrel chest and feel his heartbeat next to mine. I wonder if said chest has hair on it like his arm, prickly, springy, and sexy as... Oh, my. Last night, he wore a tuxedo with his hair slicked back. This morning, that tight t-shirt shows off muscles I want to explore, and his hair is wild. My curiosity wonders if more enticing hairs trickle from his belly to below his belt line. I shiver with the thought and the desire to discover him. My eyes stroll his form, returning to the glorious riot on his head. I surmise it can only be contained for so long. What else is uncontained on him? But we didn't... You know, I'd whistle what I mean if I could whistle. Then again, whistling is vulgar behavior. I think puking on your own dress might surpass a little tweet from wet lips. What did I say to him last night? I remember we were discussing something but don't recall the subject. I said, I beg your pardon. He said, you don't need to beg. Our eyes met, and I sensed his statement went deeper than proper conversation. Did I beg him? Did I tell him how desperately I wanted to rub my body against his? I wouldn't know how to ask for what I wanted any more than I'd know how to beg a man to take me. And he asked me to tell him 3 things. He probably meant tell him 3 things about me, but instead I said, you, me, a bed. It's the boldest thing I've ever done, yet here I lie, naked, alone, and unsexed. Doesn't anyone want to sleep with me? I'm successful, I'm wealthy, I'm physically fit, I'm perfect. I fling myself backward, the heaviness in my head thumping as I hit the pillow and stare up at the ceiling. Maybe it's your approach, darling, he chuckles, and I realize I've asked my question aloud. I just wanted him to sleep with me. One night. It's been so long. My head lifts, noting he's still standing at the foot of the bed with his hands in his pockets, gazing down at his feet. I drop my head back one more time and close my eyes. He rustles around the room, and I roll to my side, opening my eyes to stare toward the window. The sun beams through the sheer curtains. We never closed the room darkening ones, and I see it's going to be a glorious spring day here in Nashville. Soon, I'll need to make the trek back to Green Valley, my hometown, but I'd give anything to remain in this bed and curl into myself. I catalogue the sounds of movement at the edge of the bed, a shoe tapping on the floor as though he's struggling to place his foot in it, the clink of a belt. He wore a tuxedo jacket and a bow tie. Where are those things? I don't look. I just stare at the window. My heart aches, which seems silly considering we didn't even have sex. I realize that's the clincher. At one point during the night when he looked at me, I really thought he saw me differently than others do. Of course, the remainder of the evening is a bit fuzzy, but his eyes will haunt my dreams and my fantasies as I'll be back to self-pleasuring after this mortifying moment. The women said he wasn't selective. I wasn't too old, too graying, too anything. He'd do me, they'd teased. Who said such a thing? I still, as if I'd been moving, which I wasn't. I'm even holding my breath. Did I say all that out loud again? Was it those bitches you were sitting with? Is that who said such a thing about me? Glancing at him over my shoulder, I meet his eyes, which toss axes back at me. I don't have the strength to spar with him, although fighting is one of my finest skills. I can pick and poke at the best of them, making certain I always have the last word. But not today. They told me you weren't discriminatory, and I would be good enough for you. He huffs, shaking his head, and I notice he holds his tux jacket over his forearm. The belt and tie drape his arm as well. His fingers curl into a fist at the edge of his belongings, and for a second, I wonder if he liked holding me last night. Did he enjoy having his arm over me? Did he even know he did it? What does it matter? Forget it, I snort huff. It's an unattractive sound, but I don't care. I don't care because he wasn't attracted to me after all, and I'll likely never see Chester Chesterfield again. I twist my body away from him, returning my gaze to the gauzy curtains. No, I want to know. Who cares what those ninny know-it-alls think? My head rolls to peer at him over my shoulder once again. It isn't that I care what they think. It's that I cared to have sex with you, and you didn't care to have sex with me. It's been such a long time, and I put myself out there, propositioning him in some manner to get him back to my room. Now, I'm just embarrassed while missing the full memory of my behavior. Who said that? He huffs. Who said what? Who said I didn't want to have sex with you? Well, you... I blink at him. He said we didn't have sex. Isn't that what he meant? I have another question. Why sex with me? And I want a real answer. Be real with me. I continue to stare at him before taking a deep breath and answering. Because I haven't had sex in over a decade, okay? Not with a real man. A man who wants me. One virile and passionate and solid in the... You know. I wave a hand toward the general direction of his. You know. Say the word. Pardon me? I blink at him, but he holds firm, daring me to say one word. I'm not saying that word. We glare at one another for what feels like an eternity. The weight of those eyes is as heavy as his arm over my waist had been. But there's something deeper in those midnight orbs, a vulnerability that mirrors my own. Fine, I'll say the word. Dick. There. Satisfied? I wanted your dick. He shakes his head as he softly chuckles. This will definitely go down as the worst seduction ever. I close my eyes, mortified. I have no idea what he looks like underneath those tuxedo pants. He could be a pencil sharpened down to just above the eraser for all I know, but his stature suggests otherwise. He'd be as solid as the tree trunk necessary to make a dozen pencils. Admittedly, the discussion with those ladies at the bar got out of hand, and then I wanted him in my hand. I wanted to know what it would feel like to hold and be held, to caress and be caressed, to be penetrated by a man who was not Carl. Chester seemed the perfect specimen. Suddenly, I hear the drop of a belt to the floor and feel the strain of the bed near my feet. My eyes open, and I watch as he tugs his T-shirt over his head by the back of his collar, removing the white material like a curtain for the opening act. On display before me is a broad chest, smattered with dark hair and a thick trail leading lower. He tosses the T-shirt on the floor. His feet shift, kicking off his shoes, which make a soft thud near the foot of the bed. When he begins to crawl up the bed and over me, I can't think. What man doesn't want you, darling? Huh? Oh, I mentioned that, didn't I? But words escape me as he hovers over me. His brawny body blocks out the sun like a thunderous cloud, and I want him to rain down on me. He lingers over me but doesn't lower. I want to spread my legs for him, but he has them trapped between his. My body hums for a connection with him. He remains on all fours, a predator over his prey, and I'm ready to scream, "Devour me!" I'm so turned on, and he hasn't even touched me. There's a feral appeal to him. His nostrils flare, and he licks his lips. My heart races, and my breasts heave under the sheet hardly covering me. "You sure about this, darling?" He attempts to whisper, but that rugged, sleepy tone returns, and the timber rumbles over my skin like the rush of a rainstorm. Yes. No. I shouldn't do this. But who am I kidding? I'm Scotia Simmons. I want to do this, and I always do what I want. Despite the throbbing in my head, I hold my chin higher and answer him. Definitely.
Chapter 2. Got No Game. March. Chet.
Uncle Chet.
7-year-old Louis calls out in greeting as I enter the playroom, which was once a family room. The view overlooks the Smoky Mountain Range and Green Valley down below. The boys gathered on the floor are building an intricate and elaborate system of roads and tunnels for their matchbox cars. Where did you find these? The plastic orange track intended to hold small metal cars seems like an antique, although I never had such toys when I was a child.
Mrs. Pickle found them,
Dewey explains, without looking up. He's concentrating on stacking boxes under the track to raise the angle. Dewey is 11 and has a structurally creative mind. His ingenuity and vision hints that one day he's going to design roads and build bridges that will blow the minds of what we already know. He's also a Harry Potter lookalike, with round glasses and bangs a little too long. Who's Mrs. Pickle? I ask, thinking the name sounds like a cartoon character and not one 5 boys would be interested in.
Mrs. Pickle,
Louis drones as though he can't believe I don't know who she is. Am I supposed to know her?
She's only the best book reader ever.
Louis peeks around me and hollers.
No offense, Maura.
I glance behind me and find Maura Hall standing in the opening to the large, sunshine-filled room. Maura would be considered a beautiful woman to most men, but for me it's not about how she looks. She takes on the care of the 3 boys who fell under my guardianship. I was gifted custody of the boys and considered it a huge honor under the circumstances. I had no qualms about taking them in. It's what Harper and Davis wanted. But I quickly realized the care and structure needed to raise 3 boys was demanded more than I could handle on my own. I was honestly concerned I'd screw them all up. Louis had been a baby, while Hugh and Dewey were still so young. Harper had been a natural at motherhood, and she'd been good for Davis. He matured a bit when they fell in love, and he embraced fatherhood. But me? It freaked me out. What did I know about being a dad? Without decent parents as role models, I didn't think I was cut out for parenthood. I didn't want to fuck it up with someone else's kids. Being the fun uncle was a better fit for me. That's where Mara and her knowledgeable ways with kids came in. I found her when she was considering a leave from foster parenting. I needed her, and as it turns out, she needed me too. Her beauty lies in the love she's shown these children and the additional boys we've taken on in this home. With her blonde hair, blue eyes, and contagious laughter, some man is missing out on her. Our relationship has never crossed that line because, in a sense, I'm her boss. We keep things professional. But the work is personal to us both.
No offense, buddy,
Mara replies, her voice sarcastic. The boys love her, so there are no hurt feelings over Louis's praise of someone other than their caretaker reading stories. What makes Mrs. Pickle so great? I ask Louis, who helps his brother build the looping track. Louis's hair is shorter than his older brother's, as he prefers it closely cropped to his head. But his eyes are no less inquisitive about all things.
She makes all these great voices. It's awesome,
Louis states, enthusiastic in almost everything he says or does. I exhale, trying not to consider how much his mother would have loved this kid. Loved all her children as they grew. What a strange name, Mrs. Pickle, I mock. The image of an elderly woman with gray hair curled tight like an old-fashioned perm, wearing a floral dress that looks like an antiquated housecoat, and gnawing on a dill pickle comes to mind. In my head, she bites into it like she hates Dick.
She is strange,
Hunter adds. Dropped at our door when he was only a baby. He's now 6 years old. There must have been some confusion as to the purpose of this house. That's our best guess. To this day, we don't know who found us or why they chose us. But Mara is a licensed foster parent with foster to adopt status. In hindsight, Mara is relieved she never left foster parenting. One look at Hunter, and she couldn't turn him away. With the state's permission, Mara adopted him, and it led to the idea of Harper House, this house, becoming a group home for boys. In order to keep Mara in my service and welcome Hunter into our fold, I became a certified foster parent as well. It's a little surprising I'm now on the other side of the system. What's strange about her? I ask, continuing a conversation I really have no interest in.
She smells like a pickle. She does not,
Louis defends of the best book reader, and Hunter glares at Louis.
Does too,
Hunter insists.
All right, boys,
Mara interjects.
10 more minutes and then clean up and supper, now that Uncle Chet is here.
Mara gives me a chiding look. My morning resulted in unplanned activities. Although I'm not a blood relative to any of them, all the boys call me Uncle Chet. Davis was the closest thing I'd ever had to a sibling when I was young, so I'm family in name. As his 3 boys have always called me uncle, it's just been easier to let any boy living here do the same. Typically, I'm here every other weekend. Mara deserves respite, and she's required to receive time off by the foster system. I try to help when I can on other days, but my permanent residence isn't close, and I run several businesses in multiple locations. Today is an unscheduled stop. With a collective groan from the group, Dewey looks up again.
We can't pick this up. We aren't finished.
From his serious tone and shocked expression, you'd think we just requested he commit a crime. However, the boys know Mara does not like for them to leave toys lying around. Everything has its place, and it's the reason she's in charge. If it were me, The entire house might look like a giant playland, and it typically does on my weekends. I have no business raising kids, so I don't. Mara does all the hard work. Boys, we mind what Mara says, I remind them, watching Dewey's crestfallen face. But maybe she can make an exception today, since I'm here. My visit here today was unplanned, but the past 24 hours have been a bit surreal, and being here grounds me. This is my church, as I no longer believe in God. If there was one, he wouldn't have taken from me all that he has.
By the way, you clean up nicely,
Mara teases, knowing I had to trim back my typical bushy beard and tame my wild hair to attend a thing. I actually allowed a haircut. I rub a hand over the space at my nape, which feels a little bald, but I don't respond to her compliment. Where's Huey? I ask, doing a head count of the boys in the large room. We currently house 5, including Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Hunter was adopted by Mara, and 10-year-old Campbell is a distant relation to her. The state asked her to keep the boy when his parents died a few years back as kinship placement. Harper was a nut when she named her 3 boys. Thank goodness Davis's last name wasn't Duck. It was Maverick. Harper and Davis Maverick. I swallow at the thought of them.
Hugh,
Mara corrects behind me. The 14-year-old no longer wants the E sound at the end of his name.
I'm not 12 anymore,
he said, when he officially became a teen. He currently argues Huey is too cute for a growing man. As an 8th grader, he's practicing his new name before high school.
Uncle Chet,
Hugh says in greeting as he exits the study room located at the side of the giant playroom. I turn to find a boy who looks exactly like his mother. With sandy brown hair and bright blue eyes, he's her miniature and masculine form. And my throat clogs again. Where have you been, kid? I tease him, understanding he's starting to separate himself from the other boys as the eldest and only teenager in the house.
Homework,
he groans. He's a smart kid, but also turning into a bit of a scrapper at school like his father had once been. His big heart is getting him into big trouble as he defends the underdogs of the schoolyard. He's a modern-day mini Robin Hood. A part of his aggression comes from hormones and an underlying anger he can't define. I'd be pissed off too if I'd lost such loving parents. Then again, I never knew my own. The call for supper comes from a sweet and sultry voice in the front hall. Mara hired a kitchen assistant a year back, and Savannah is beautiful with silky smooth jet black hair and bright blue eyes. But she's too young for me. I'm a 46-year-old man who likes to keep things uncomplicated, and her youth is a complication I'm not interested in tapping. Not to mention, Mara is very selective about who enters the home, and Savannah works hard as part-time kitchen help.
I think you might be drooling a bit,
Hugh teases me, reaching for my lip. He likes to pretend I have a crush on the cook. I think he's protecting his own youthful desires, but he's too young for her. I grab him by the back of the neck, giving it a squeeze. My touch is not hard, as I'd never use force on these boys. I've had my own experience with a firm hand, so I'd never replicate it on another. I don't know what you're talking about, I retort, as the other boys rush around us to line up near the bathroom outside the great room to wash their hands before entering the dining room.
Sure you don't,
he chides. One day, I jest, knowing his 14-year-old self really is on the edge of being a young man with too much sex on the brain already.
One day?
He snorts.
I'm there now.
Oh yeah? Got a girlfriend? I jest, as though I'm the same age as his friends. He shrugs.
I'm keeping my options open,
he replies, tugging free of me and joining the back of the line for the restroom. This kid. He's going to be a heartbreaker one day. But not too soon, I hope. I don't want him growing up too fast. And I definitely don't want him doing things like his father and I used to do. Random hookups stopped short the second Davis saw Harper. Me? I'm still keeping up the practice. And that woman this morning. Tell me 3 things I teased her before we ever made it to her room.
You, me, a bed.
It hadn't seemed real. There was just something about her when we met last night. She was sharp, snarky even, with socialite written all over her. But she was also willing and wanting. She had a vulnerability to her that made my brain disconnect and my body take over. One-night stands keep emotion out of the heart, and I'd been burned too bad in the past to let anything near mine again. Not all of us can be lucky bastards like Davis, who found the love of a good woman in Harper. Again, I consider the woman under me this morning. Her exotic gray eyes held wisdom, with a strong dose of hurt buried deep within. She looked upon me with hesitation, as if at any minute I might pull back, and she might lose me, even in the heated moment. She clung to me, desperate for my touch, my kiss, and my dick, and I can't explain my response. It's as if I wanted to give her everything, and more. I wanted to assure her I had staying power if she'd ask. But Scotia Simmons would never ask me to be with her. Not long term. Overly confident in one breath, then slightly cautious in another, she was a puzzling contradiction until my body entered hers. Then we were on the same page. I never struggled to leave a bed, but I wasn't eager to rush off from hers this morning. However, lingering is not my modus operandi, and there came a point when it was just time to walk away. That point was after giving her 3 orgasms and getting a big one of my own.
Hi, Chet,
Savannah quietly says, catching me off guard with my thoughts on the powerful release I had this morning. I lift a hand to wave, but accidentally smack Hugh in the back of the head. He turns bright red and curses under his breath. I notice he straightened and smoothed down his shirt. Savannah continues to the dining room with a serving plate, not noticing either of us in her mission to serve dinner. Hugh turns back to me, exaggeratedly rubbing at his hair, mortified.
Smooth, Romeo,
he mutters to himself. Does he have a crush on Savannah? I grip the back of his neck again, gently shoving him. The momentary awkwardness breaks and he laughs.
We need to work on your game.
My game? I snort. I don't need game. I got plenty this morning. How do you know who Romeo is anyway?
I told you.
Homework, he groans. The tale of fated lovers, starry-eyed and star-crossed. It ends in doom, kid, I want to tell him. But I don't. I think back once more to this morning's hotel room activities. I want someone to belong to me. A woman like Scotia would never be interested in me, not if she knew the truth about me. Shoving my dick into her might have been the wrong thing to do, but she felt so good. Her fingers in my hair, tugging gently on the ends, her mouth sucking at my neck, her nails scraping over my hairy chest. You like that? I teased.
I like you,
she said, not holding back. Her words were a heady concoction, and I was drunk on her this morning. I wish I could have another sip. But it's best to let things remain where they were. A hotel, one morning, and her. Chapter 3. Them's Fightin' Words. August, 5 months later. Chet. It's hotter than Hades as I stand outside the Viking MMA studio late one afternoon. I'm waiting on the boys. After Hugh got in a fight at the end of the school year, I made a deal to allow him to learn to fight responsibly. And Viking offered classes for boys. Of course, all the boys wanted in, and I eventually caved. Hugh wasn't happy about the additional attendees, and I understood he was looking for ways to distinguish himself from the other kids since he's entering high school soon. Showing favoritism to one boy over the others is difficult, though, as I try to be fair to all. I don't want to deny any of them any advantage I can offer. I'm standing on the sidewalk, leaning against the minivan belonging to the house, when I hear a group of women as they tumble out of the space next door. They practically bump into me like it's not obvious a large man is standing on the sidewalk.
Did you see her thighs?
One says, stubbing her nose at me over her shoulder at my nearness without actually looking at me. Some people just have no boundaries. I was here first, lady.
I just don't know how she can wrap those ham hocks around such a skinny pole.
My eyes glance up at the name of the storefront next to the MMA studio. Stripped. Specializing in the art of pole dancing and more. Returning my gaze to the women who clearly aren't professional strippers or pole dancers, I note their clothing of black stretchy pants and oversized t-shirts on most of them, not to mention a few wrinkles and some gray hairs among them. Nope, not your typical strippers.
And the other needs to shower more frequently,
the woman states again, wrinkling her nose and exaggerating a pinch to it. Her head tips to the side, sensing I'm still present, but she continues.
Hooey! She smells like the pigs she's raising.
One more head tilt and an over-the-shoulder glance, and then she's waving her hand as though I stink too. I might. It's hot. I hate hearing women put down other women. It reminds me too much of someone I used to know. And these ladies, all red-faced, sweat-laden, is that a 1980s headband on one of them? Sure aren't anything to brag about. However, the one with her back to me doing all the yakking has a fine ass in her tight pants, and her racerback tank shows off a muscular back and toned arms.
Hazel, I can't believe you talked me into doing this,
the fine-ass woman continues.
I can't believe how well you did,
the woman I assume is Hazel responds.
You're a natural.
Bless your heart.
I hope not,
fine-ass admonishes.
I wouldn't be caught dead wrapped around a pole like that in public.
But you just did wrap around one, a third woman in the party reminds her, referring to the pole dancing class they must have just finished.
Must be your years since widowhood. Are you doing something we don't know about?
Hazel leans in as though she's asking for a secret.
Riding poles we don't know?
I snort. Fine-ass glances over her shoulder again, looking down her nose at me.
Do you mind?
Her sugar-sweet southern drawl rubs on me like sandpaper on rough wood. Not at all, I snide, crossing my arms and spreading my legs wide to balance me better against the van. I'm not moving.
Hazel,
fine-ass drones, turning back to her friend and lifting her fingers for her throat to grasp for pearls she isn't wearing.
You watch your mouth. There's nothing wrong with a little side dish,
the third woman states, leaning in as though she's offering a secret but still speaking loud enough for the entire block to hear her.
Since Junior's death, I've had to get it where I could get. I didn't always want to follow Velma's rules for self-stimulation.
Okay, TMI. I should not be hearing this. I'm not a good judge of age, but these women are like 40-something. Shouldn't they be talking about knitting, cats, or some shit like that?
Well, I'm not dancing on poles or any other phallic symbol,
the first clarifies, stiffening her shoulders. And I can't help but wonder if a good pole ride is what she needs. She continues.
And I'm assuming neither is Rebecca Sue. Did you see the brows on her? She needs a good esthetician. Her lip could use a wax as well. But once you start that, there's no going back.
Jesus. Some women just do not have the good sense to keep their mouths shut.
Well, at least she was giving it her best effort,
the third woman states, attempting to soften the endless insults.
Mabel, you are too kind. But just because J-Lo and Shakira pulled off pole dancing during the Super Bowl a few years back doesn't mean every 40 to 50-year-old woman should run out and try it.
Fine-ass chides.
Some women are best keeping their clothes on and their feet planted on the good earth.
Aren't these women roughly the age Fine-ass is harping on? Jesus. She definitely needs to be stripped down and have her toes curled. A good polling might do wonders for her. Suddenly, the door to the MMA studio opens, and the boys rush out like scattering ants. I press off the side of the van, bumping into Fine Ass. She flinches, steps aside, and swipes at her arm as though she's flicking dirt off her skin. Whatever. The other two women shift only minimally as I open the side door for the boys. Keeping my back to the biddies, I shield the boys from their venom with my big body.
Uncle Chet, did you see us? I took down Hugh. Campbell almost broke my nose. I broke my glasses again.
I look down at Dewey. He's going through eyeglasses like changes of underwear. We need to get you some sports eyewear, kid, I say, watching the boys scramble in. For some reason, I glance over again at the women ripping apart other women to find the ringleader observing me. She's focused solely on me. Her eyes scan my body, sizing up my height, taking in my broad shoulders, and noting my too thick beard. Her nose wrinkles as though she smells something bad. Yeah, that's right. I'm all man, and that means I sweat. God, her attitude reminds me so much of someone I don't like to think about, looking down her nose at others and being catty toward other women. Of course, I didn't recognize these things in that woman until after I fell in love with her, after I built a house for her, after I wanted to marry her. As the boys finish filing into the van, I really look at Fine Ass, and something about her strikes me as familiar. Seeing her face full on, I notice a white stripe of hair pulled back in her ponytail, visible as my eyes squint. Scotia? Despite all the other things that distinguish Scotia Simmons in my memory, there's a unique physical characteristic that marks her as different. Her hair. Amid the fading blackness is a white stripe along the right side of her face. It's called poliosis, she said, when I couldn't take my eyes off the bright contrast. You had polio? I questioned, concerned she'd once been sick. No, poliosis. It's a lack of pigment in the hair. It's like a birthmark. It makes me special. That comment made her special, all right. Oh, I said like a dumbass. Since I'd known an overconfident woman or two in the past, I couldn't seem to stop myself from asking. Does the carpet match the curtains? Of course my carpets match my curtains. I'll have you know my home was professionally decorated by Sonia Stevens. I had no idea who that was, nor did I care. She hadn't understood my taunt. I let my wandering eyes explain myself, giving her body an obvious perusal from her curtain top to the covered rug at the top of her thighs. I beg your pardon, she snapped. You don't have to beg. Our eyes connected then, my meaning clear, hers cautious. I instantly felt bad for taking my surly attitude out on her. My presence at the conference was at fault, not her. I'd gone too far and apologized for being crass. Then I'd offered to buy her a drink. After she finished the first gin and tonic a little too quickly, a gentle hand came to rest on my arm. Did you mean it? She questioned, lowering her voice while her tone screamed of vulnerability. I wouldn't have to beg. Her eyes closed like she couldn't believe she'd asked me for clarification. I didn't question her hesitation. Her hand began to retract, and I reached for her fingers before she pulled completely away. Whatever you want, darling. There is no denying the woman presently before me is Scotia Simmons. There just isn't enough coincidence in life to place two different women with the same white streak in my presence. Does she live here in Green Valley? When I met her in Nashville, I hadn't considered where she lived. I can't remember the fine details about her from the event. I don't recall what business she owned. It wasn't what we discussed when she approached me at the bar. It wasn't my concern when she was under me and I entered her repeatedly. We didn't really talk past her request that I sleep with her. You, me, a bed. She wanted my dick. It was that simple and just as complicated. I gave it to her because she was beautiful and sweet. And now I hear all this. She is all salt and vinegar. I hate women like this and realize I've been holding on to the wrong impression of who Scotia is. That tends to happen to me, thinking a woman is one way and finding out later that she's completely different than I thought. Watching Scotia's nose wrinkle as though something on the sidewalk stinks, I don't feel the need to identify myself. Her narrowed eyes and disgusted face remind me again of someone I don't like to remember. I turn away from her and slam the door behind the last boy after he enters the van. After circling the front of the vehicle instead of the back, I don't want to step anywhere near the shit these women are slinging. I enter the large 8-seater van. If we add any more boys to the home, we won't all fit in this thing. Adjusting the rearview mirror, I catch another glance of the women on the walk. Scotia's still staring at the vehicle, but it doesn't matter. She isn't the same woman I had under me. The one who whispered how good I felt, how she'd never been so complete, and how she couldn't get enough. That woman was full of sweet praise and sugary compliments, while all that fills the woman behind me is vitriol and vinegar. I don't need that kind of woman in my life. All buckled? I call out to the boys. When I get the all clear, I shift my eyes forward and decide not to look back. Later that night, I returned to the Fugitive, my bar and motel off the tail of the Dragon, located just over the Tennessee border inside North Carolina. The place is one of a variety of businesses I own. The popular spot marks the southern end of the famous and dangerous strip of road motorcycle enthusiasts love. In the heat of the summer months, my bike gets me here best, and I need the ride today. My head requires putting on right after this afternoon. I was so disappointed in what I'd seen and heard on the street in Green Valley, but I don't know why it bothered me. Maybe because I'd been holding on to fantasies of Scotia in my head, while in reality, she was quite different. She was exactly like Hennessy Miller, and I should have known better. A woman like Henny didn't look past the nose on her face. She didn't read into a person. Then again, that's the kicker. I thought Scotia had a good read on me that morning. She had no recollection of me on the sidewalk today, though. Eventually, I saunter into the Fugitive. The place is a typical biker hotspot with dark wood paneling, a broad bar with a scattering of tables in the main area, and a separate pool room off to the right. The detached motel stands to the side of the bar in a classic 2-story L-shaped layout. Some might consider the place seedy, but we keep clean rooms which offer updated furniture, a flat-screen television, and a handy lover's kit including protection, lubrication, and a couple of mints. That last bit was not on the list of improvements this motel needed when I bought it a while back. "We ain't Vegas," I snarked when one of my former housekeepers came up with a suggestion. But somehow the sex care packages stuck. The production of them eventually became another one of the businesses I own. And of course, there's a stop and pump gas station located here. I own that too. "What's up?" Todd Ryder calls out to me from behind the bar. He's been my best friend for years. Whatever I need, he's the man. At the Fugitive, he's the bartender, manager, and bouncer. "Whiskey," I call out, and Todd pours one for each of us. I slam back the drink as Todd watches me. "Jesus, what happened to you?" We don't usually share our shit. We don't need to discuss feelings or the things we do behind closed doors. But Todd and I know a bit of each other's history. I should mention the woman I haven't been able to get out of my head. The woman who looked at me like I could be her hero back in March. The woman whose body responded to mine in ways I couldn't have predicted. Her hunger, her willingness. It was all she wanted that morning. But I don't mention any of this to Todd. Admittedly, I don't spend much time in Green Valley, mainly keeping to myself. I don't make anyone else's business my own. So I had no idea Scotia lived in the area. I recall her eyes from earlier, assessing me and finding me unworthy in my sweat-laden t-shirt, with an unruly beard and hair bushy from the humidity. She didn't like what she saw. I didn't like what I heard. She was not the same woman I shared a night with last spring, and I can't explain why I'm upset by the interaction. Got a new kid, I mutter, dismissing my real thoughts. Todd knows about Harper House, but I don't need the rest of the place knowing my affiliation with it. We can't seem to identify him. Is he a runaway, or was he kidnapped and then ran away? He's locked up tighter than a Bible-thumping virgin. On my most recent visit prior to today, one of the boys mentioned someone named Malik while we were hanging out in the giant playroom. Who's Malik? I turned my head to Mara, who lowered hers. We were playing with paint guns in the woods and he got hit by accident, Hugh explained. What have I told you about those paint guns? I admonished, turning on my nephew. More importantly, who is this other boy? The boys found him in the woods, Mara answered, and I stared back at her. We don't know where he's from. Mara, I moaned. Could we even take on another mouth to feed? Not to mention, does the kid have parents who miss him? She knew the drill and surmised the questions running through my head. I called the authorities and our caseworker. They agreed to let him stay here while we figure it out. Why doesn't the kid just tell you where he's from? I asked her. Mara explained he isn't speaking. We're lucky we got a name, Mara told me, and my tipped brow questioned how she got that information. Mrs. Pickle, she answered. Mrs. Pickle? Who the hell is this woman? Mara occasionally uses volunteers to give herself a break during the week and to offer additional support to the boys, so I don't question her. Variety in the village, she calls it. With her bevy of experiences, especially with older kids who come with baggage, she knows how to vet people before letting them enter the house. She's a natural caregiver, protector, and provider of love. I wish I'd had a foster mother like her. I don't recall a thing about my mother. She'd disappeared so deep into alcohol, she'd forgotten she had a son. I was placed in the foster system at 8. After years of bad luck and moving from one house to another, I finally met Davis. We'd been thick as thieves and more bonded than blood, despite what anyone said about family. I wanted the same ties and stability for our crew. No boy gets left behind. Ever. It's another reason we need to learn more about Malik. Where's the boy? I asked, and Hugh jutted his chin toward the staircase leading upstairs. You okay with this? I asked Mara. Could she handle one more child? This ups the count to 6. Although we accept some donations, Harper House is mainly privately funded. We also receive a small stipend from the state for any kids we keep before other foster placement is secured for them. Additional children among our 5 has been rare. I don't worry about those things as Mara's in charge and knows the foster care system better than I do. She follows all the state and federal regulations, but she's also one of the system's favorites because she has an excellent track record with kids. You know I'd never turn someone away, she whispered, and the beauty within her radiated outward. Her heart is too large. Okay, but the proper channels, I reminded her, but she didn't need reminding. Somehow these occasional stray boys end up with us, but I want them to be legitimate strays and not some angry pissant kid looking for a place to hang out at for a while. We have enough mouths to feed and bodies to clothe and brains to inspire. We don't need trouble with the local sheriff's department. We're all good so far, she assured me. Only we were still no closer to learning where Malik came from or what he was doing in the woods. Mara could homeschool. In addition to being a foster parent, she's also a former teacher. But it's a lot to teach all the boys given their various ages, so they attend the local school. She's been able to discern that Malik can read, write, and do arithmetic through our mystery volunteer, Mrs. Pickle. He just won't speak to anyone. He's stolen a few things in the house, but nothing of consequence. It's all been survival things like snack food, water bottles, and blankets. The fear is he'll run from us before we find out who he is. That sucks, Todd says, interjecting on my thoughts. Todd's always been good about supporting the boys where he can. He remembers when his brother nearly landed in trouble with the wrong crowd, and just like me, he doesn't want that to happen to any of these impressionable kids. For the most part, I don't involve the guys who roll through my place in my mission. I have enough businesses financially supporting Harper House directly, and that works for me. The bar and motel are my nest egg. My retirement lies in these investments, although I'm not certain I'll ever retire from riding my bike, hanging out in the bar, and occasionally sleeping with a woman. Life is easiest lived in this manner. And not a word from the kid? Todd questions. We've done our best to guess his age and figure he's around 8 or 9. He hasn't even answered direct questions other than once giving his name to Mrs. Pickle, written on a piece of paper. Mrs. fucking Pickle. I'm getting tired of hearing about this woman. I had to ask Mara to remind me again what was so special about her. Clothes, books, school supplies, and that's just a start. Mara berated me when I questioned not only a volunteer, but also her contributions. Apparently she's some rich old woman with nothing else to do with her money. And Dewey's convinced she's the best book reader on the planet next to Miss Naomi at the library. Louis is smitten with her, and Malik lights up when she's around. You sure something else isn't on your mind? Todd asks. I hold out my glass for another hit, and he gives me a second healthy pour. My mind immediately travels back to the scene on the sidewalk earlier. I don't know why I can't let it go. Perhaps the insulting words have tarnished my memory. I want someone to belong to me. Then again, I need to remind myself Scotia was a one-night-only opportunity, or rather, one morning. She wasn't meant to be anything more to me. I once knew a woman like her, wanting a ride on the Chesterfield Express. That woman wanted money and status. The problem is this feeling I had that Scotia was different. Deep down, I thought, it doesn't matter what I thought. I didn't need nor want a snooty woman. I'd had one once. I wouldn't go there again. Yeah, just been stupid, that's all. Used my dick to make a decision instead of my head. Unfortunately, I haven't been with anyone else since that encounter months ago, and I don't know why I've been holding out. Todd chuckles and taps his glass to mine. Been there, done that, my friend, he mutters before lifting his shot glass to his lips. I could have looked Scotia up after the event last spring. I could have gone through the conference brochure, contacted someone on the board, and found her phone number. But even though I'd wondered what happened to her after that morning, I didn't. I don't know why I didn't. Seeing her on the sidewalk paints a different picture of her than I remembered. One of a woman with succulent breasts, a firm ass, and a sweet mouth. That mouth was not so sweet after all. All salt, all vinegar. Lord knows I'm not perfect myself, but I try not to be a dick to my fellow man. I'm doing what I can for my friends. I run several legitimate businesses. I don't fuck women over. And something tells me my little tryst with Scotia did her no harm. Still, I've never been a good judge of character when it comes to women. Case in point, the last woman I gave in to was not who I thought she was. Why do I never learn?
Four. Halloween Round Table, October, Scotia. Admittedly, autumn is not the height of pickle season, but a good fried pickle works anytime, anywhere, especially when our newest account is a chain of bars in North Carolina, and I'm in a dither when something goes wrong with the order. What do you mean it didn't arrive? I bark into the phone. When my husband was killed, God rest his spirit, I inherited money I didn't know the penny-pinching pediatrician had set aside for a rainy day. That rainy day arrived when he died, and I decided to enter my fried pickles in a contest. And I won. Take that, Diane Donner Sylvester. My former best friend thought her daughter was always all that. Banana cake queen, my yoga-toned backside. She wanted to live vicariously through her prize-winning baker daughter, and look where it got her. On the run from police with a motorcycle man named Repo. Me, on the other hand, I won that contest. Me! And I've been nicknamed the Fried Pickle Princess by Roadside Rumblings, a television program hosted by a famous foodie. I like to be considered a queen because princess has a coquettish and juvenile connotation. But royalty is royalty, and I won't give up my newfound status. By marrying a Simmons, I shared the history of growing up a Winters, the product of religious fanatic parents in a small armpit of the mountains. I didn't disapprove of my upbringing. Daddy loved me best, but I didn't want to be poor my entire life. When I met and married Carl Simmons, sealing my future to protect his, I fell into a different type of royalty, small-town society. Don't get me wrong. Diane had been a good friend as far as friends go when you're a member of the Green Valley upper crust. We had a love-hate relationship. I loved to hate her, and vice versa. And nothing fed our competitive spirit more than the comparison of our daughters. Her daughter was a beauty queen. Mine was valedictorian. Her daughter was a master baker. Mine went to medical school. Whereas my girl, Darlene, dodged a bullet by not ending up with one of those Winston boys. Her sight originally set on Beau. Diane's daughter seemed to feel it was a badge of honor to become one of them, and eventually married that oddball Cletus. In my opinion, intelligence outwitted beauty. Clearly, my daughter won. However, over the past few years, I've come to an understanding with Diane's daughter, Jennifer Winston. She's lost her mother, and I'm missing my daughter something fierce. Being that I was one of her mother's best friends, despite our competitiveness, I've grown fond of the younger woman who has a kind spirit and trusting nature. I trust you today, Mrs. Simmons, but I'll be checking in on that trust tomorrow. Bless her heart. She's too cute for her own good some days. And with age comes reflection, and I'm coming to appreciate that kindness trumps smarts. Perhaps Jennifer Winston wins after all. I want a delivery update stat. I bark into the phone to my assistant, Gideon. He's my 5th assistant in as many years, and he's lasted the longest. Hanging up, I toss the device on my desk where it instantly rings. Yes, I snap. Hey, Scotia! Just reminding you of our plans tonight. My sister Beverly's chipper voice grates over my current nerves. Apparently, finding true love can make you happy. Look, Beverly, I'm having a situation here, so I don't... Great! Naomi will be there at 5. Beverly, I don't... Hello? Hello? The line is dead. I pull the phone away from my ear, glaring down at the screen. Did you just hang up on me? I growled at the technology in my palm, cursing my sister. Despite Beverly being only 2 years younger than me, we weren't close as children. She always sought my approval, but I didn't eagerly give it. We were just too different. She wanted happily ever after, and I wanted status. It's been almost 30 years since we were teenagers, and we've slowly begun to rebuild our sisterhood, especially after the showdown with her no-good ex-husband, Howard, last fall. Age brings wisdom on who should be important in your life. Our relationship rehab includes mandatory once-a-month meetups, and this month is our youngest sister Naomi's turn to decide on a location, which means she will be driving us. I glance at the clock on my phone and I see I have 42 minutes to get my pickle order processed properly before the sister cavalry arrives and forces me to go with them to wherever we're going. Once upon a time, Naomi begins. This isn't a fairy tale, I quickly interject as we sit in some biker bar almost 45 minutes away from Green Valley. My youngest sister's nose scrunches in displeasure at my interruption. With hair that is a mix of white and silver, she wears it in a long, intricate braid over her shoulder and looks like a magical witch more than a fairy. I love a good fairy tale, Beverly adds, which I ignore while watching Naomi sympathize with our middle sister. Once upon a time, none of us Winters sisters had anything close to a fairy tale in matters related to romance. Then Nathan Ryder and Jed Fleming appeared, and my sisters each fell down their respective rabbit holes of bliss. "We need an idea for the Halloween party," Naomi reminds me. "Remind me again why we are going together," I mutter into my wine glass. My lips purse at what I consider a terrible idea, even though I promised to go along with it. Naomi recommended we attend the annual Green Valley Community Center Halloween party at the end of the month. That is, we attend collectively, as in the three of us together, as in sisters in coordinating costumes like we are still children. "A fairy tale theme works. We could be 3 fairies, like from Sleeping Beauty, Fauna, Flora, and Merryweather," Beverly offers, and my nose wrinkles this time, not caring for this suggestion. My sister has snow-white hair cut short to her chin in a tumble of loose waves. She's tall and wiry thin, and more similar in appearance to a wise elf than some fluffy fairy in a pastel dress. "We are not fairies," I scoff, recalling us as children in princess nightgowns. I take a moment to allow my gaze to roam the layout of the bar. A clientele of bikers and tourists surround us. The fugitive was Naomi's idea. My sister's new husband has connections here. Nathan's older brother and his best friend run the place. I have nothing against Nathan Ryder, other than taking my sister's virginity, once upon a time, and causing a family ruckus because of it. But that's old news and happened 20-something years ago. Time passes on what we can no longer rectify. "What about symbols? Like the Deathly Hallows, a triangle, a circle, and a wand?" Naomi's lips curl upward on the last word, and her eyes dash across the bar to Nathan, sitting on a stool talking to his older brother playing bartender. "How very Harry Potter," Beverly beams. "I'm not going as a square," I grumble. "Not a square. I just said a triangle, a circle, and a wand," Naomi repeats, and bites the corner of her lip as though she's holding back a secret. She and Beverly exchange a glance, and I'm reminded again of when the three of us were children. Naomi and Beverly, while 6 years apart, were closer to one another than Beverly and me. "You're our promise, Scotia," Daddy used to say to me, making me feel special and unique from my siblings. Our mother wanted more children, fulfilling God's mission to procreate, but I believe the act of procreation was an excuse to get Daddy to conduct some husbandly business. I used the same excuse on Carl until we had Darlene. One child was all God would provide to us. "No shapes, then," Beverly states, trying to pacify Naomi and me. Ever the peacemaker, that one, which is ironic, considering her past. "We could go as 3 witches," Naomi suggests next. She looks like a witch with her silver and white hair in riotous waves. Our Irish bloodline cursed her and Beverly with premature white hair. I was blessed from birth with this unusual pigment defect, giving me a permanent white strip of hair on the right side of my head. Some people say I look like Stacey London, the what-not-to-wear fashionista, who I consider beautiful. Others have called the colorless locks the mark of the devil. Some days, I equally take that comment as a compliment. "Like Hocus Pocus, the movie?" Beverly excitedly questions. "No Hocus Pocus," I interject, shaking my head. My youngest sister is a tree hugger with religious practices I consider strange and bordering on witchcraft. She's a Wiccan. "We could be the legendary Irish sisters, the maid, the matron, and the crone." "And who is who?" I question, eyeing my youngest sister. "I'd have to be the maid," Naomi says, nodding once. Right, the eternal celestial virgin. I don't say it aloud, but Naomi's watching me and replies, "There's nothing wrong with holding out for the man of your dreams." Naomi defends herself and her honor in remaining a virgin until she was almost 40. Well, almost a virgin, as she'd done the deed once, but only once, back when she was young and, ironically, at this bar. "But there is an issue when the man of your dreams holds out against you," Beverly adds, and my chest squeezes at my sister's words. Her husband rarely had sex with her. preferring the beds of other women. I suffered on both counts. I'd saved myself from my husband, who then held out for most of our marriage, preferring the beds of others as well. I could be the matron, Beverly clarifies, as I've been married. Beverly's ex-husband was a worthless philanderer who didn't deserve her kind heart or youthful innocence. So I'm the crone? I shriek a little louder than necessary. Turning my head, I notice others in our proximity have heard me. What are you looking at? I snap at a man dressed in head-to-toe leather. Twisting away from him before he can respond, I lift my wine glass for another sip. The flute is narrow, and I bet I've only received half a standard pour at the price of an entire bottle. The Fugitive isn't a winery, but a biker bar. Their drink specials include whiskey or domestic beer. Think of us as representing the Emerald Island in the Green Valley, Nathan's brother teased when he took our drink orders. I don't believe Todd Ryder could find Ireland on a map, and we aren't in the valley, but up and over the mountain in North Carolina. I can't believe I let my sister convince us to travel that treacherous highway. The same road that claimed our brother and could lead us home, if home still existed. Green Valley is your home, I reminded myself as we passed Cedar Gap's old turnoff, where our house and church once stood. When I married Carl Simmons, I swallowed the proverbial Kool-Aid of Valley society and shunned my upbringing as if it had never occurred. I never wanted anyone to think I didn't deserve my position among the Green Valley elite. How about the three fates of Greek mythology? Naomi suggests, hoping to refocus our attention and diffuse the ugly glare weighing on us from the biker at the nearby table. Isn't that almost the same as the three sisters? Beverly asks. Her hands fidget with a paper napkin. Why don't we just go as the three little pigs? The idea is just as ridiculous. Beverly clamps her lips, refusing to engage in conflict as we try to restore our sisterly relationship, which was once strained and distant. Because the big bad wolf is already one of us, Naomi says, twisting her lips, sizing up how I will react to the implication. I'm the hot-headed, quick-to-judge, eager to huff and puff one among us. I thought I was your wolf, a deep masculine voice interjects from behind me, and I spin to face Nathan, Naomi's husband. He's a jovial guy despite his large stature and leather jacket. His smile and the dimple hardly hidden under perfectly manicured salt and pepper scruff give his biker appearance a softer look. He appears mischievous in a good way, as though he's a guy who just wants to have fun. He addresses Naomi when he asks, Need anything, sweetheart? Next to Naomi, the slump of Beverly's shoulder is almost like a full-body sigh of awe. When did my sister become the romantic? Beverly suffered a failed marriage like me, yet I don't consider mine a complete failure. Carl and I had some success, including his medical practice and our daughter. My marital secrets will go to the grave with me, thinking of gravestones, cemeteries, and death. So, Halloween. I circle back as Naomi shakes her head at her fine husband. We could be the sisters of Native American legends. Winter squash, maize, and beans, Beverly suggests. Of course, she'd mention agriculture, as she's a farmer. I am not dressing up as some vegetable raised on a pole, I definitively state. You could be a pole dancer, a rugged male voice suggests nearby, and all three of us turn to stare at the man dressed in leather at the next table. His white mustache reminds me of a sinister stalker. He looks like the poster child for Motorcycle Santa minus a stocking cap. In its place is a red bandana over his thick skull. I beg your pardon, I drawl in that voice I reserve for gum under my shoe, scum of the earth, and those I believe have wronged me. Begging is what you do with me, honey. He winks at me, and my breath hitches like a hiccup. Sitting taller in the backside aching seat, I widen my eyes at the innuendo. I do no such thing, I state to the stranger as my gaze roves over his body, and I decide I'd rather drink raw sewage than solicit him for anything. I beg for nothing. For the flash of a second, I recall when I did plead with a man for something. He told me I didn't need to beg him, though. "You just begged my pardon," the man counters. A deep chuckle hums behind me, but my eyes remain on the vulgar man who has no business interrupting our private conversation. Baggerdude twists at the waist, providing himself a better view of my seated position, and he blatantly scans my body. "Then again, I suppose with that tight ass, you don't need to beg. You need the pole removed from it." My mouth falls open. I take pride in my body, which is nearing 50. My daily gym routine includes alternating yoga classes and circuit training, but I wasn't going to accept this questionable gentleman's compliment of my assets when he was insulting me in the next breath. Heat rushes my skin, and the flame of my tongue ignites, prepared to put this backer in his place. "Bless your heart, but the only pole that needs to be taken down a notch is yours." My eyes roam over his leather-clad body before I add, "Then again, it probably shouldn't get any shorter." My implication of one particular body part of his is evident. The man's chair slides back, loudly scraping against the wood flooring as his body shifts, and I sit taller, bracing for his verbal assault while his body language suggests physical harm. "All right, Herbie, that's enough. Don't make me call your old lady." The distinct male voice behind me sends a ripple up my spine while my entire body trembles with agitation, which includes wanting to fling more condemning words at the insulting biker. However, the rugged voice at my back forces my attention away from the biker. I spin and look up, and up, and up, and up. A solid man with thick arms crossed over a barrel chest glares at the opposite table, holding his protective stance directly behind my chair. I'd forgotten his presence for a second, or perhaps it emboldened me to speak as I did to the neighboring table. Ready to question the man behind me who was defending my honor, my mouth freezes at the sight of him. My tongue thickens, and I literally cannot find the words to address this male specimen who looks like a grizzly bear, with his bushy beard and sex-roughened hair, both the color of midnight. His eyes are deep and equally dark, but I can't get a good look at them from this angle. Something about his stature screams not to mess with him. In some ways, he reminds me of Vernon Grady from Grady's Seed and Soil. But this is not Vernon. This man is someone else. Someone familiar. But that can't be. Imagining things because I just thought of him, and that night and the not begging beg. I'm imagining a man who never called me. I hadn't expected him to. That wasn't part of our arrangement. Still, I'd wanted to hear from him again. I wondered if he ever thought of me as I thought of him often. His soulful, sad eyes, his powerful hands and tongue, his tender but hard kisses. "Hey, Big Poppy," Naomi stammers, addressing the man whose glare does not leave the pole dancing requester at the other table. "Naomi," his voice softens. "Brought some friends tonight?" His eyes drop to Beverly, and my heart races. Why is he looking at her? Beverly is taken, as is Naomi. They both have a man. Then again, why do I care? This man is not my type. With his thick limbs and tall stature, a too-tight Henley and rips in his jeans, not to mention unruly hair and that beard, he is not a man of interest. If I had an interest in men, which I currently do not, I'm happy living the life of a single productive businesswoman, taking full advantage of the freedom of my widowhood. Even to me, the thought feels crass, but I admit I don't miss Carl. We were partners, not lovers. We had an image to uphold, and we upheld it. But at the end of the day, our life was exhausting. Glaring at my sister before turning my attention back to the grisly creature, I come eye to belt buckle with his belt buckle. I gaze up at him once more. His beard, his hair. He looks as if he could be. But that would be impossible. This man looks a little unruly, wild, and dangerous. Swallowing thickly, my blush deepens, and I turn away again, facing my sisters. Naomi's eyes land on mine, and her brows furrow in question. "Scotia?" A heavy silence falls around us for a second, and then the man at my back speaks. "Excuse me?" Without looking, I feel the loss of him as he walks away. Then I take a deep breath as though I hadn't been able to breathe in his presence, and the scent of something crisp and fresh fills my nostrils. Warm, grassy, lemony, neat. My heart gallops faster. My breathing grows shallow. "What did you say his name was?" I shakily address Naomi, whose eyes narrow. "Big Papi. It's a little strange to call him that, but I don't know his real name. Everyone refers to him as Big Papi. Are you okay?" Spinning in my seat, I grip the back of the wooden chair. My gaze follows the movement of the large man as his body circles behind the bar, and he slaps Todd Ryder on the back. I can't pull my eyes away from him. Something's familiar about him, but it can't be who I think it is. Something's recognizable in his size, but he would never be here. Something's intoxicating about his scent. My eyes squint, tugging at my memory. The pleasant scent, the size of him, the beard and hair are the confusing part. The man in my memory didn't have such fullness to either, but the way he saunters more than strolls triggers me. He pauses at the entrance to the pool hall and turns back to the bar, his stature resting in profile. With his hands cupping the edge of the wall, marking the entry to the pool room, he glances over his shoulder at me, and the unfamiliar registers as all too familiar. His position reminds me of a hotel wall and a man ready to leave my room. And under a minute, this man disappears, just like the man from that night. Or rather, early morning. Sweet Jesus, I mutter in disbelief. It can't be. I stand without thinking. My hand grips the back of the chair to steady me at first, willing me to still. But my heart thunders, propelling my legs forward. "Scotia?" Beverly calls out, her voice sounding far away. Ignoring my sister, I take a step forward, my eyes catching on an image of blackbirds on the wall. "3 crows, I see. Good luck to me." "You want to be 3 crows?" Naomi questions, and I wonder if my sister's hocus-pocus beliefs include reading minds. I want good luck. I want someone to belong to me, I recall telling him. Memories of tangled sheets, deep kisses, and racing hearts flood me as I cross the bar, enter the pool hall, and note an emergency door in the back corner. The loud crash of it closing vibrates around the room. "Tell me 3 things," he said. "You, me, a bed." I'd never been so bold. "Well," he replied, "good things happen in 3s.
Chapter 5. Bus Rules. Chet. Chester? I ignored the soft call of my formal name in the darkness of the night. The tone is that of a woman I recall in fantasy, but who doesn't exist in reality. This voice is the woman who settled under me, giving in to me, and pleading with me not to stop what I'd started with her body. This is not the tone of a woman standing on a sidewalk tearing others down. I round my home located behind the fugitive and stand against the side, catching my breath for a second. My heart thumps because Scotia is in my bar, my space. And she was mouthing off to Herbie of all people. Harmless as a hedgehog, he's still a biker and a man with friends in the wrong places. Jesus, she has no boundaries. Waiting out the silence in the woods, I determine she's returned inside the bar, unwilling to venture into the dark around it. She shouldn't wander around my place. No longer hearing sounds other than those familiar in the night, I enter my home. 10 seconds later, a knock comes to the door. My heart races again as I swing open the door and find Scotia standing at the base of the steps. There isn't much space on the narrow stairs inside the door, and I tower over her as she looks up at me with questioning gray eyes. Without thinking, I step back, and she takes the 3 steep steps upward. I walk farther into my home, keeping several feet of distance between us. She called out a name I rarely hear. Maybe I misheard it, echoing in the night air. Maybe I've been wishing someone had said it again, in a voice soft with yearning. Does she remember Chester Chesterfield? Does she think about last March? Her gaze wanders around the tight space, taking in the dinette table with booth seats and the kitchenette area complete with miniature appliances. My large body blocks her vision of the back, which includes a bathroom and a bed. "Do you live here?" she questions without the formality of a greeting or reintroduction. Her tone returns to the haughty woman on the street, and instantly my hackles rise. I shouldn't have opened the door, and I damn well should not have let her into my home. You should have never slept with her. But she's so pretty, despite the sneer of her mouth. Those dark locks with that distinguishing white strip, those silvery eyes like polished metal, and those kissable red lips that were all over my body once. You shouldn't be wandering around in the dark, I snap, noting the blackness outside the windows. You were, she reminds me. This is my land, though, and I'm familiar with it. Which reminds me. You shouldn't enter the home of a stranger. Her head tips at my warning, chin held higher. But we aren't strangers. You're Chester Chesterfield. For some reason, I don't confirm her statement. We stare at one another. Her eyes soften and the hesitation I recall from that morning appears in them. I give her a long moment to assess me, taking in my eyes, looking at my beard, roaming down my belly and stopping at my zipper. If nothing triggers her memory that she's familiar with this body, I don't need to remind her who I am, especially as I shy away from being recognized, identified, or publicized as Chester Chesterfield. Name's Big Poppy, I say. Chester Chesterfield feels like another lifetime in the persona of a man I don't really know how to be. At first, I'd strived for all I have as him, riches, wealth, property. I had one reason for that drive, and then that reason didn't want Chester Chesterfield. So I dumped him. Unfortunately, my legal name is on my assets, and on rare occasions, Chester Chesterfield returns. Big Poppy, she repeats slowly, feeling out the name on her tongue. Davis gave me the name once we stole our first motorcycles. Riding my bike is the one thing that hasn't changed, even when I've tried to eradicate everything else from my past. My bike is a part of my soul, and my buddies are like family, so the name stuck. Her head shakes in either disbelief or confusion. And you live here? Censure rests in her tone, and I recall her voice from a few weeks back. Are you judging me? It's a bus, she states, gazing over everything once again as if she still can't believe it. You're observant, I snark, pride pinching as she recognizes the vehicle, but not me. She didn't see me under the thick beard and reckless hair. I'm the same guy who looked into her vulnerable eyes and gave her what she asked of me. Yet she stands before me, not seeing me. It's definitely for the best, I decide. She is bitter and briny. So why does her opinion bother me? No, I mean, it's a school bus. Brilliant again, I mutter. Her genius declaration states the obvious. My home is a school bus, a bus converted into a tiny house. With floors that look like hardwood and vertical pine boards on the wall, the space includes a built-in love seat, booth seating, and modern conveniences for a micro kitchen. The entire width of the back is one giant bed. The irony in this tiny house is I'm a big man. The other irony is I learned my lesson. I don't need large material assets to be the man I want to be. Her eyes narrow on me, and she shakes her head as if she's come to some sort of understanding with herself. Yes, of course. You couldn't be who I thought you were. You thought I was this Chester dude, I question, wondering why I'm egging her on and not kicking her ass out, or telling her the truth. Because you kind of liked her ass when you had it in your hands, holding her in place to dive deeper into her. Because deep down, you don't want her to be a judgmental Judy. You want the woman who was sweet on you for one morning. And you want her to want you as you are.
Yes, Chester Chesterfield.
Her voice turns dreamy on the name. And you know him how?
Are you kidding me?
She pauses, glaring at me before turning to stare out the side windows. Then her demeanor shifts. She stands taller, glancing around the space once again. Her nose wrinkles as though she smells something rotten.
So that's how you want to play it?
What do you really know about him? I question next, not letting it go that she claims to know him, me, when she clearly doesn't. With her head held upright and her neck elongated, I expect another voice shift, and I'm not disappointed when she goes into haughty heiress mode.
He's a respected and esteemed citizen of Tennessee, worth millions of dollars, which he generously donates to causes all over the state.
He sounds like a tool, I want to retort. It also sounds as though she's reading a LinkedIn profile, and I almost laugh. What causes? How many millions? What do you mean, respected and esteemed? Could you see past all that and still want to be with me? My guess is she knows all the answers to my first line of questions, and it's all the more reason not to bother with the second. I don't need some greedy woman after my millions, nor do I need her finding out my biggest calls. She probably eats children for breakfast. She'd definitely hate the ones I help, the underprivileged, the forgotten, the left behind. She's the type who considers those kids beneath her. Not salt of the earth, just salty. They represent who I once was. So screw her. He sounds like an asshole, I say, arms still crossed over my chest as I narrow my gaze at her.
He isn't,
she defends, sounding like Louis when he argues with Hunter. Her arms fall to her sides, fingers fisting. Her brows pinch, puzzled.
Or at least, I didn't think he was. He was tender and sweet, noble, and generous.
Somehow, I don't think we're talking about donations anymore, but something else. Consummation. The Chester in her head gave her orgasms, generously, and he tried to be kind and delicate, sensing that was what she needed. I'm going to be so deep inside you, you'll fill me for weeks. Did she? Did what we did haunt her like it haunted me? She can't see past the Chester in her head, though, to realize I'm actually standing before her. Her head tilts as she takes in my attire and my appearance once again.
I liked him.
She wrinkles her nose as if to say, you? Not so much. My dick recognizes the softening of her tone, but it will not be allowed out to play with her. Her sidewalk show and her school bus disdain are reminders that she is not the same person I had passionate sex with months ago. Her true colors are showing, and they aren't as pretty as her face. Sounds like a putz, I say, because that's what I am, or he is, or we are, whatever, by letting this woman get to me.
He's not a putz.
Right, because he's a millionaire who's kind and generous, I mock, because who would give away most of his millions to support others in need? Don't know a guy like that. Nope, not at all. Her eyes roam my body once more, tripping down my chest and landing on my thick thighs, which I flex in my jeans. She flinches. Does she remember those legs between her own? Does she recall the power in them to move her at will? Does she want to tangle her legs with them again? Her stuck-up attitude tells me probably not.
You didn't call.
Her gaze lowers to the floor, and her voice drops so quiet I'm not certain I've heard her correctly. You mean that Chester fella didn't call? Hurt instantly crosses her face. Then a mask falls into place, She doesn't want me. She doesn't know me. She wants a part of him, but he isn't going down that path again. Any woman I allow close to me will know all of me and accept every slice and sliver, or she wouldn't get near my heart. And as this woman isn't going to get that close, I don't have to worry.
I see I've made a grave mistake,
she says, stiffening her shoulders and her voice as she lifts her head.
I apologize.
If shutters could slam shut on her expression, they just did. Her apology carries not one drop of sincerity, and without further words, she turns and walks to the door I left open. Her feet stomp down the bus steps, and then I hear the thud of them on the earth outside. Because I'm not a total ass, I quietly follow her, making certain she re-enters the bar. She shouldn't be wandering around in the dark, even if only 100 feet rests from my door to the building. Scotia Simmons could be a cold fish, and even a bear wouldn't mess with her. But I still want her to be safe. I want to take care of her, which is the most asinine thought I've ever had.
Six, menstruation is women's frustration. Scotia. A few days later, I'm still reeling from my encounter with one big poppy who looked like Chester Chesterfield. They just could not be the same person. Chester was cleanly trimmed with slicked back hair and wore a tuxedo. Big Poppy's beard was obnoxious and his locks unruly. He wore dark jeans with a hole in the knee like a wayward teenager, and his shirt was a size too small for his large stature. On display were thick arms that could wrap around me and tug me upward as he thrust into me, filling me, moving me like a plaything. Of course, Big Poppy did not do those things with me. So full, I cried to Chester Chesterfield. He's the one who made me feel as though I'd never been so complete. He's the one who kissed me like he needed me to breathe. He's the one who touched me like I was a tender flower. I felt every part of him inside me, and I wondered even more how I'd put up with Carl all those years. You know why you did it, I remind myself. Why had I asked that man about calling me? That had not been the plan. We were one night, or rather, one morning. Still, he'd been on my mind. Had I been on his? The way he reacted, he didn't want to be recognized by me. He didn't want to recall what we'd done. He was so different, and I'd misjudged him. As in, he was not who I thought he was. He was not Chester Chesterfield. Chester would never live in a converted bus, a school bus, even under the disguise of pretty modern real estate terms like tiny house. Honestly, who comes up with these names to glorify things? A pickle is a pickle. Then again, there is a difference. Genuine dill, kosher dill, sweet, bread and butter, gherkin. This all reminds me I need to speak with Gideon and follow up on the delivery mishap from the other day, and I dismiss my aimless thoughts of Big Poppy or Chester. I'm on my way to take my SUV in for an oil change. I'm not feeling so great, though, so this is the last thing I want to do today. Womanly issues, Carl politely called it. Some days, it sucks being female and getting older. To put that in pretty terms, I'm menstruating in a perimenopausal way. Ugh, who am I kidding? There's no fluffy way to state what's happening to my body as I near 50. I'm only 48, but still, my female organs can just quit. They've already served their purpose, and that objective set sail a long, long time ago. Even though the doctor recently told me I could still conceive, I'm done. I almost fell off the exam table with that news. Besides, you need a man to fill the cruise ship. Dear God, I mutter as I drive to Winston Auto. I've lost my mind, comparing my body to a giant sea vessel. Is this another sign of perimenopause nonsense? The time before the actual time? I just want this business over, especially as the cramps seem to have grown more painful in the past year, and the flow heavier, and there's just no way to decorate that description. I'm hit with a whammy of a spasm as I pull up to the auto shop, deciding I need a bathroom stat and something strong enough to rid me of the unnerving pain. I really should have rescheduled. After I enter the service dock as directed, I park. I turn off the ignition, leave the fob in the cup holder, and open the door. I step out the driver's side and freeze. Unbearable pain grips me, and my body expels something I don't even want to consider. I shiver with chills and tremble uncontrollably. Gripping the open door's edge and reaching for the headrest of the driver's seat, I bend forward and just know without looking that something is trickling down my leg. Something red and obvious. And I'm mortified. "What can I do for you today, Mrs. Simmons?" My eyes close. Please don't let it be that awful Shelley Sullivan. She's so strange. In the past few times I've been here, we've had words. Then again, she is female, and I don't want one of those Winston boys assisting me. Swallowing all my pride, knowing I can't step away from this vehicle without giving away what's happened to me, I do something I've never, ever done before. "Please help me!" My voice cracks as tears I didn't know existed trickle down my face. Her quiet pause tells me she's caught off guard by my distress, or perhaps it's the awkwardness of my position. Maybe it's just that she really doesn't like me, and I've never cared so much about another's opinion as I do at this moment. I shake off my concern and slip my hand to the seat of my SUV. "Just get me some paper towels," I snap, ducking my head inside my vehicle. I don't even want to see the evidence on my own leg, and as I'm wearing a skirt, I'm certain things appear unsightly. "What's going on here?" a gruff male voice asks. Oh, God, no. Just no on every level of no. Big Poppy. I refuse to look up. Instead, I close my eyes as more tears drip from under my lids. Nothing could be more embarrassing than my current state, and the fact I recognize the rugged voice somewhere behind me takes this humiliation to a new stratosphere. "Scotia?" The tenderness in his questioning tone brings heavier tears as my body continues to tremble with chills and panic. I'm afraid to move, and there's no way I can lift my head and walk as if something isn't trickling down my leg, giving away the fact I'm only human, a female, and nearing 50. "Please go away," I whisper, my voice quaking. That ninny Shelley still hasn't moved to retrieve any paper towels, and I'm trying to remember if I have napkins in the glove box. Can I even reach the compartment? I sense motion behind me, hear some shuffling, and then a wad of rough paper towel swipes up my leg to the back of my knee. Oh, God, could this get any worse? "You don't need to. Just hand it. I can..." More swiping, more scratching on my skin. "Can you move?" he asks. "I need my purse," I mutter. I need more than a change of feminine products, but it's at least a start until I can get home. I'll need to call Naomi and hope she isn't working as Beverly doesn't drive. "In the glove compartment." "What's in the glove box?" he asks, but I can't speak, as if mentioning my unmentionables would be more undignified than my current position. However, I keep a spare pair of underwear in the compartment. "Just something," my voice croaks. A hand rests on my lower back, and instead of flinching, I absorb his comfort. I could use a hot pad and a warm soak in a tub, which is out of the question. What I really need is a stiff drink and the past 10 minutes of my life erased. "I'll get it, darling." His deep voice is close behind me, and while I don't care for the endearment, the term is rather sweet and soothing coming from him. I slip to the side enough to press my body against the open driver's door, but he's too large to reach around me and across the front seat. "Stay right here," he says. I almost snap. "Where do you think I'll go?" But I don't. I bite the inside of my cheek hard to keep myself in check. Big Poppy rounds my sensible crossover SUV and opens the passenger door for my purse and to access the glove compartment. I don't look directly at him, but watch his thick fingers find what I need and hold the fabric off the tip of his finger for a second. Thin, red, lacy. It's not the most practical pair for my situation, and I'd forgotten which one was in the compartment. Mama always said never to leave home without a spare pair of underwear. What can I say? I like pretty panties and matching bras. I needed to feel sexy somehow when my husband wasn't interested in me, but sexiness is the last thing on my mind. Big Papi crumples the pair into his fist and slips it into his pants pocket before shutting the passenger door and rounding my SUV again. "Okay, darling," he says again, as if warning me of something. The alert becomes clear when I'm suddenly tucked underneath the thick arm and curled into his chest. "What are you doing?" I snap without much sass. I'm in no state to be arguing. He ignores my irritation anyway, and my arms wrap around his waist, instantly hanging on to him. I still can't look him in the face. In fact, I don't want to meet anyone's gaze, especially that twit Shelley, who remains near my open driver's door. My eyes close as if no one can see me as Big Papi guides me through the waiting area, and suddenly it hits me. I'm in the most embarrassing position of my life, and this man is being kind to me. Eventually, we stop before a restroom door. "I'll wait here," he says, pressing open the door and nudging me forward. "I'm going to call my sister." There's no way I'm waiting out the time for an oil change. I can come back for my car later, tomorrow, or never, as I won't be able to show my face in this garage again, and I will never be able to look at Big Papi again. I said, "I'll wait here." His voice roughens, emphasizing he wants no argument from me, and a new shiver ripples up my spine. I step into the restroom and clean up as best I can. My skirt is ruined in the back, so I remove my cardigan to wrap the material around my waist. The drooping sweater isn't enough of a disguise, but I could at least get home without exposing myself to more attention. My hands tremble as I wash up, having disposed of everything, including my previous underwear. I left my coat in my car, but I won't return for it. I call my sister instead, explaining my situation. Thankfully, she can come pick me up. "Just come to the bathroom because I'm not stepping out of here. I'd rather sleep on the nasty tile floor than ever walk out of this room to witnesses." As I click off the phone with Naomi, a soft knock sounds on the door, and then it opens a crack. Apparently, I forgot to lock it. "Scotia, you doing okay?" His deep voice startles me. "Yes, you may go now." I don't know why I say such a thing in such a tone. After dismissing him, I lean against the sink with my back to the door. My eyes flick to the mirror where I see only a partial reflection of him. "I can drive you home," he kindly suggests. "Don't be silly. I'm sure you have an appointment." I straighten my back and hold my head up. "Mask in place, Scotia. I'm here to have my car winterized, but I can come back another day." "I don't want to put you out." I fluff my hair as though what happened is no big deal, as if I'm not uncomfortably standing in a public bathroom with a sweater around my waist covering the large stain, as if the most humiliating moment of my life hadn't just occurred before this man. "Damn it, darling. I'm trying to help." "Well, I don't want your help," I bark, although I clearly was in a position of need a few minutes ago, and he did assist me to the restroom. I shift so I get a better glimpse of him reflected in the mirror. His thick hand holds the edge of the door, his broad bicep on display, his brows furrow beneath the shaggy droop of unruly hair. "I called my sister. Naomi's coming for me." I lean forward and pretend to check my lipstick. Mask in place, Scotia. I can hardly focus on my mouth and ignore my trembling finger as I swipe at the corners. Big Papi huffs. He knows my sister, although she doesn't know much about him. During the entire ride back to Green Valley after our night at the Fugitive, I grilled her about her association with him. I wanted to know everything, and she offered nothing more than he was the owner of the bar, motel, and gas station, and best friend to her husband's older brother, Todd. I had already learned he lived in a bus, but I questioned why he didn't have a room in his own motel. Not that a person wants to live in a motel room any more than a school bus, but, "Scotia," he growls. "Thank you. That is all." It was really sweet of you to help me, I should add, but I don't say the rest of my thoughts. I don't offer him the kindness he deserves after being kind to me. I've dismissed him again. Mask in place, Scotia. I've never had to work so hard to keep myself under control. I'm so embarrassed by all that has happened, which means it's best to pretend nothing happened. I cannot regulate what my body does. It's happened before. It would most likely happen again in another month. Yay for perimenopause, says no one, ever. The door to the restroom closes, signaling Big Poppy's finished with me, and I slump against the sink, covering my face with a hand. Internally, I scold myself. Mask in place, Scotia! Then I stand taller, forcing myself to look into my own eyes and return the invisible shield I always wear to stay in disguise. Mask in place, Scotia. Over the years, the pep talk has been the same. You've got this. You know how to pretend nothing happened. Nothing hurts you. No one can see what's inside you. The facade falls back into place. I've had decades of practice keeping everyone out, but there's a crack in my protective covering. A sliver I plan to seal shut as soon as I forget about Chester Chesterfield and Big Poppy, and the kindness they've each shown me. I also need to rid thoughts of how similar the two of them look, despite one in a tux and the other in flannel. Their striking appearance is only the surface level. The chip in my mask is from the kind actions displayed, despite a trimmed beard or an unruly one. It's the man beneath the beard, whoever he may be, who has me flustered and regretting, perhaps for the first time, that I hadn't been a little kinder in return.
Chapter 7. Mrs. Pickle. Chet. Getting what I'd seen a few days ago out of my head was difficult. Scotia, trembling as she was, red running down the inside of her leg, and tears in her voice. My first thought upon recognizing her was she was dying, but then I immediately realized that was ridiculous. When she used her sharp tongue with me when all I was trying to do was help her, I wanted to strangle her myself. Days later, I'm still pissed. Once again, I am reminded of that woman on the sidewalk, tearing down others. I recall her disgruntled words about my bus home a week ago, and now I can add her ungraciousness to the list. Her attitude sucks. She's judgmental and unappreciative. And once again, I'm wondering why I care. I know her type. Hennessy Miller was like that. Henny, a beauty queen in my eyes, the girl of my dreams. We were sweethearts once upon a time, only I wasn't good enough for her daddy's approval, a kid in foster care, a guy who was trailer trash, a man without means. Doesn't make the cut for a princess. I set out to prove my worth, and I did. I want to marry you. I built this home for you. Thoughts of Henny peak like the mountaintops as I pull up to Harper House, the house she didn't want after she told me she didn't want me. I should have burned this place to the ground, but the idea makes my blood run cold. Instead, I call to mind the new purpose of this home and the unfortunate tragedy that started its purpose. I shove open the door of my Dodge Charger, telling myself I'm just in a sour mood. Again. I haven't seen Scotia for months, and now I've seen her twice in 1 week. I need her to stop haunting me. She isn't the person I thought she was. She isn't the person I experienced back in March in a hotel room. And she's too similar to another woman who broke me. As I enter the playroom of Harper House, I find my pissy mood isn't over. And then? A tender feminine voice drifts to the edge of the room, the tone shifting as she transfers to another character. I'm dumbstruck for 30 seconds. I don't even hear what she reads. Instead, I see red. "We weren't expecting you today," Mara says with surprise, sneaking up next to me. I had business at my office in Knoxville. Her comment snaps me out of my focus on the woman reading to the boys. She's good, right? What the fuck is she doing here? Mara's blue eyes blink as she glances up at me. I've never used such a rough tone or direct language with her. She knows I appreciate her. I couldn't do what I've done without her, and I'd never want to lose her. But this is just too much. I don't let her finish before I step fully into the room. Dewey turns his head to greet me.
Uncle Chet,
he calls out and waves his hand for me to come closer. He smiles under his dark-rimmed glasses, eager for me to share this moment with him. But I want another story. What are you doing here? I growled at her, staring at the woman who looked down her nose at me for the last time. Her voice squeaks as she looks up, noticing my presence for the first time. The boys shift. Louis goes up on his knees, drawing closer to where she sits in a chair holding a book. Our current tenant, Malik, the boy who doesn't speak, crawls on his knees behind the furniture, disappearing from view. I asked you a question, I bellow louder. Louis covers his ears.
You're frightening the children,
she states, as though I'm the monster, as if I'm the bad guy for giving them a home and trying to keep them safe from women who will take advantage of their kindness one day. I'm the bad guy, providing them with a haven of warm shelter and education, with the hope they'll grow to be smart and generous without being a fool like me. You're frightening the children, I snap back at her, although that isn't the scene before me. Louis tucks himself under her protective arm, and Dewey stares daggers at me. Hugh comes out of the adjoining study room.
What's going on, Uncle Chet?
Chet? She questions, her brows creasing, her mind processing. Hugh looks from me to Scotia.
Do you know Uncle Chet?
He questions, and Louis's little head looks up at her with all the love of a child enthralled by beauty and tenderness. Her hand absent-mindedly strokes up and down his spine, and the motion annoys me. You aren't allowed to touch him. There are guidelines to being a volunteer here. Hey, Hugh interjects, with all his 14-year-old masculinity.
I beg your pardon?
She defends, stilling her hand on Louis's back and tightening her hold on him. I had a comeback for those words in that tone one night, but this isn't the same scene. This is the home of boys put in my care, and I will not let her tarnish them with her snide comments, hurtful words, and demeaning sneers. She's all salt, brine, and vinegar, and she will not be like that here. My heart hammers, blood pumps, my ears fill with thumping sounds.
She's been vetted and approved,
Mara states at my side, and I turn on her, a woman I trust with everything, my home, the lives of my boys, the future of the foster kids we've taken in. How could you let her in here? I glare at the woman I consider a devoted friend and partner. Mara stares back at me as though I've lost my mind, and I suppose I have a bit.
She volunteered and went through the necessary requirements.
Trained, certified, qualified. It was a process. It took time. I know the channels. How did I not know Scotia Simmons was a volunteer here? Why? I turn on Scotia. Why here? Are you stalking me? Does she want Chester Chesterfield so badly that she was willing to pry into him until she dug so deep she learned his history? His pathetic rags to riches sob story? I own this house as the one good deed I've done in my life, but it's furnished with heartache from the tragedy that started it. Does she know about Harper and Davis? Will she judge them too? How deep did she shovel? Does she want Dick that badly? Or maybe it's the money. I'm spiraling out of control with my thoughts and my anger. Before she can answer, I speak again. You are not welcome here. Chet! Mara shrieks beside me, and I turn on her. I do not approve of this. Of all the things, over all the years, this is the one thing I'm saying no to. I turn back to Scotia. Get out. She stares at me, mouth agape, and I prepare myself for the venom this woman can spew. I've heard it on the street, heard it in my bar, and heard it in my own house. Don't speak, I warn her. Her lips clamp shut. I don't know what you're playing at, but you cannot be here. Do not return. My body vibrates with the threat to her and fear for the boys. She'll expose them. She'll use them for some nefarious advantage I can't put my finger on, and she'll hurt their innocent hearts. Holding my ground, I watch as she turns to Louis under her arm.
It's okay, darling. Her soft voice reminds me of Harper speaking to her child. Louis was only a baby when his mother passed. Scotia gives him another squeeze and leans forward to kiss his forehead. The audacity. She can't touch him. She shouldn't offer him affection. She can't be kind to him. My blood races faster. My heart pounds triple time. She closes the book on her lap and slowly stands, setting it on the cushion. Leaning around the chair, she holds out a hand for Malik. It's okay, precious. He won't hurt you. He's a good man. Her words slam into me like a Mack truck. She can't mean what she says. She doesn't know me. She doesn't know any of my many sides. However, she's completely correct. I'd never harm any of the children coming through our doors. My mission has always been to offer safety and unconditional love. I continue to watch as Scotia reaches for the poor kid I've frightened enough he's hiding, and realize I've set us back with my outburst. He'll never approach me. He might never open up to anyone. He might even run away from here. Damn it. My shoulders fall. I didn't intend to scare the kid. Okay, precious, she whispers in defeat. Her own shoulders sag when he doesn't respond to her. He only trusts Mrs. Pickle. I want to yell at her. My eyes narrow as Scotia stands and glares at me with the glare of all glares. I already know she can be salty and vitriolic, but I've also seen her vulnerable and sweet. There's so much more to her than her briny tongue, and I'm slow to recognize what's been happening before me. She'd been reading to the boys who look heartsick and puzzled on her behalf. She used endearments, soft touches, and encouragement. He's a good man. No, she cannot mean it. She's after something, but I don't know what it is, and she can't have it. Not with them. Chester? She sneers my name, her recognition of me clear. Or should I call you Chet? She hasn't earned the right to call me by the nickname, and she hasn't learned we are one and the same, but very different. Chet, Chester, Chesterfield, Big Poppy. I am a complex man. Chet wants her out of here. Big Poppy thinks she has some serious nerve. Chester remembers a morning spent enraptured with her. All three parts of me agree that she needs to leave. But I do another sweep of the room. Malik remains hidden while Louis looks horrified. Dewey and Hunter question me with puzzled eyes. Hugh places his hands on his hips, giving me a look like, "What is your problem?" Campbell just shakes his head. How am I in the wrong here? My mouth opens to ask the question and then snaps shut when Scotia moves. She bows her head at Mara, who smiles sympathetically at our intruder. An unreadable expression fills Scotia's face. Her shoulders straighten. Her head lifts higher. I witness once again her building a wall around herself, and then she walks out of the room with the grace of a queen and without a single word. When the front door to the house closes with a soft click and not the slam I'm expecting, I return my sight to the playroom floor, taking in a stunned Dewey and quiet Hunter. Campbell has lowered his head, and Hugh folds his arms over his chest, glaring back at me as fiercely as Scotia can. He almost pulls it off, but then I remember his age, and I want to laugh until I look at Louis. Tears fill his soft eyes, and his lower lip trembles. She's not a good woman, I say in my defense, my voice weakening as I wonder how they don't see her judgment, ridicule, and spite. Too quickly I feel the uncertainty of my words. With them, she was the sweet voice of a woman reading beloved characters. With them, she was a tender touch and soft encouragement. With them, she was clearly someone they all adored. Louis continues to look up at me, broken and questioning. But she's Mrs. Pickle. His small voice quivers, and I stare back at him, my brows forming a tight crease of concern. She's... what?
Chapter 8. Hold the Pickles. Chet. Finding Scotia was easier than I thought. The hardest part was sucking up my own pride to go to her. Days after kicking her out of Harper House, Louis still hadn't spoken to me. Dewey could hardly look me in the eye, but Hugh did, with a constant glare of disdain.
"They'll get over it,"
Mara said, but even her heart wasn't in the suggestion. She felt schooled that I'd called out her judgment in allowing someone the likes of Scotia Simmons near the boys. And I felt equally bereft that I might have misunderstood the situation.
"You're missing the fact that I'm raising 5 boys, now 6, without a partner. Savannah is part-time. Scotia has been a welcome addition to give me support with their homework and the personal attention each boy rightfully deserves," Mara argued, which made me feel as if I haven't been available enough for the boys. In a Pickle is located on the edge of the business district in Green Valley. After the ladies' night at the Fugitive, I learned Todd's brother is married to Scotia's sister, and it didn't take much to discover more about Scotia, at least on a surface level. Widowed years ago, she used her inheritance to start her own small business focused on fried pickles and pickle-related paraphernalia. This was noted when I opened the door to the small store and read a sign that said, "A pickle is a cucumber with experience," quoted by someone I don't recognize. "May I help you?" The young man entering the front was a decent-looking guy. Too nice-looking, which made me feel all creepy for noticing. But he was almost pretty. His dark hair was so gelled in place a tsunami wouldn't move it. In a dress shirt rolled to his elbows, bright green pants, and fancy leather shoes, he looked like a pickle product. It was weird. "I'm looking for Mrs. Simmons," I state, stumbling over calling her Mrs. Pickle like the boys. "Do you have an appointment?" I have an apology. I stare at Pretty Boy, who artfully lifts one brow. He looks like he should be modeling cologne, not working at a pickle place. "I'll see if she's available." He looks me up and down and then adds, "On second thought, she's available." He shakes his head as if he knows something I don't and leads me toward the back of the location. He cuts us short at the staircase and I follow him up. As we enter her office, I hear her speaking into her phone from where she's seated in a swivel chair, with her back to her desk and the door. "You would not believe the hair on that woman. It's as big as her mouth some days." Pretty Boy clears his throat, and she spins, eyes narrowing at him for the interruption, until she sees me. "Hazel, I've got to go." Without additional commentary, she hangs up and drops her phone on the desk before her. It's a large piece of furniture, almost too big for the frame of the woman behind it, but not so large as to cover her sneer at her assistant before speaking to me. "Mr. Chesterfield, to what do I owe this visit?" She side-eyes Pretty Guy and addresses him. "Make yourself useful and find something to do." She flicks her hand at him as though she's shooing away a bug, and I shake my head, wondering if being here is a huge mistake. Louis's sad eyes come to mind. Damn it. Once her lap boy leaves, she directs me to take a seat on the other side of that big desk. I feel like I'm in the principal's office or at the bank asking for a loan, the first of which I did many times, and the second of which I only did once. I don't sit, and she stares up at me over the imposing furniture, crossing her arms on top of it. Like a hawk, narrowing in on prey, she's waiting me out. I apologize. The boys would like you to return. Still squinting at me, she says, "That's it?" Not sure else what to say. "From the moment we've met, it's been one lie after another with you, and this is all you have to say to me." "Lie to you?" I chortle. "How did I lie?" "You are Chester Chesterfield, the renowned Chester Chesterfield, with a fortune in oil and a multitude of philanthropy behind your name." "That's not a lie. I am him." "But you're claiming to be Big Papi, biker bar / motel owner, and living in a school bus."
Those things are also true. I leaned forward, bracing my hands on the back of the chair where she suggested I sit.
Then which one is it? Mr. Chesterfield or Big Poppy?
I'm both. And people closest to me call me Chet. The name is reserved for those I consider most important, like Mara and the boys.
You cannot be two people, Mr. Chesterfield. Or three.
Why not? You are. A short huff comes from her and her shoulders visibly flinch. Her fingers tighten together.
You have no idea what you're talking about,
she states. I take her in for a minute. Her midnight hair looks a little closer to charcoal ash with that white stripe near the right side of her face. Her exotic gray eyes border on black when she's hell-bent and sparkle silver when she's not. Her seated position is a pose. She looks regal once again, haughty actually, and I almost laugh. She's uptight and taking herself too seriously. But damn, is she pretty. I know exactly what I'm talking about, Mrs. Pickle. See, I met this woman more than 6 months ago, and she begged me to have sex with her.
I did no such thing,
she interjects. Never said it was you, I say, pausing to let the possibility sink in. But let me rephrase. The exact words were, doesn't anyone want to have sex with me? And here's the thing, I did. See, there was this moment when she looked at me with caution but also desire, and my insides got all mixed up. She was sweet, unbuttoned, and eager for my touch. She wanted me, responded to me, and man, she just felt good. Scotia's cheeks pinken, but I continue. She told me she had 3 desires, her, me, and bed. And I wanted to give her anything she asked for. Or rather, begged, I huff, reminding her how we started. I couldn't resist trying to please her for some damn reason, and then I found it strange when she pleased me.
I pleased you?
Her head snaps upward. Her voice is a whisper swallowing around the words. A faint smile curls her lips, but she rolls them together to fight it. But then I see this woman on the street a few months back, and she is ripping apart other women, tearing them down for their lack of pole dancing skills.
I did not.
Funny, I didn't say it was her. And then I find her in my bar, and she's cussing out one of my biker patrons.
He started.
But the real kicker is when she attacked me in my home.
I did not attack you,
she shrieks. You insulted my house.
It's a bus,
she bellows. We've established that. But I live there. It's my home. And I'll be damned if I'm going to let a woman full of piss and vinegar come into my house and patronize the place where I live, even if she is the prettiest thing I've ever seen. Scotia blinks up at me.
You think I'm pretty?
Her voice cracks as her knuckles turn white. That's all you got out of what I said? I'm flabbergasted. What is with this woman? Does she not hear herself? Does she not know what she says about others? Is everything always about her?
I'm sorry.
I stand straighter, surprised by her words. What are you sorry for?
You're right. I shouldn't have misjudged your bus. It's a lovely bus.
It's my home, I say, through gritted teeth.
Yes, fine. Your tiny house is pleasing.
We stare at one another for a long minute. Explain to me how you got to the boys. I need to know she didn't dig into Chester Chesterfield's private affairs, that her being there isn't about him, but to truly help the boys.
My sister Naomi works at the Green Valley Public Library. She knew I was looking for volunteer work, and Maura had inquired about assistance with homework and activities, like reading to the boys.
I continue to stare at her. It's a simple enough explanation, but something still feels off. Then other thoughts occur. She's a desirable woman in bed. She's a salty socialite. She's a foster home volunteer. You're just as complicated as I am, Mrs. Pickle. Silence falls between us again, and her eyes turn hungry just as they did that morning. I need to learn all her signs. Is she turned on? But what I really can't figure out is why such a powerful woman, I pause and look around the office, needs to ask a man to fuck her. I take another glance around the room, noting something that looks strangely like a pickle on a stick. It looks like a golden dick. What the hell? Then again, is that why you have Pretty Boy around? Maybe she's into younger men. He's polished and shiny and perhaps more her type. Pretty Boy? She questions, and I nod toward the door. Her mouth gapes wide before she speaks. Why, I never. Gideon is my assistant. He assists you in all means. I tip up a brow, questioning his purpose, and wondering myself why I'd care if he dipped his dill into her. She glares at me. The silence that falls between us is thicker than a pickle, and just as crisp. Shoulders back, she states. I'm a widow. I don't date. Don't need to date to have sex, I tell her. I'm not like that, she says. You were with me, I remind her. You were different. Why? Herein lies the million-dollar question. Why me? And don't tell me it was some girly gossip peer pressure thing. Why did you really approach me at the bar? You have sorrowful, soulful eyes, and I wanted them to look at me, like maybe you might see me differently, see me for who I am. What? This softens my tense stance, but not my retort. Lady, I have no idea who you are. I mean, she's playing two sides of a fence herself, but I don't really know who she is or why she's like this. Why was she sweet inside the hotel room with me but salt and sass on a sidewalk? Her shoulders stiffen, and somehow I recognize this signal. She's going into mean girl mode, and I clutch harder at the chair back I'm gripping. I'm not going to like whatever she says next. I'm the fried pickle princess. In a pickle is my wedge of heaven, and it's time for me to get back to business. Her hands unclasp, and she lays them flat on the desktop. Slowly she stands. Something in her demeanor has shifted. She looks at me, but her eyes are different. I accept your weak apology because I miss the boys, and I'd like to see them again. Weak apology? I mumble under my breath. She has no idea the strength it took to come here and grovel on behalf of those kids. Yet it's still not good enough for her. I know her type. Nothing will ever be good enough for Scotia. And she owes me. Where's my apology? I question, as I pace around the chair before me and stand in front of her desk, pressing the tips of my fingers on the surface. I mirror her position, raising my own barbed wire fence against her. For what? She stops herself short, hopefully recalling the other day when she brushed me aside despite trying to help her at the auto shop. Her gaze lowers for the surface of her desk, and I'd like to think she's chagrined, but a live fish has a better chance against a hungry grizzly bear than I'd do of getting her to admit she was ungrateful. Taking a deep breath, I move on to another topic. Funny that the pickle princess is so desperate for dick. That why you surround yourself with a phallic-looking vegetable? Technically, pickles are a fruit because of the seeds on the inside of the meat, but your reasoning for my interest is offensive. Her eyes dilate as though she's taken a hint of something sweet, something strong, something sending her into an abyss, and I wonder again if she's getting turned on because, for some reason, I am. Shocker. Scotia is offended by something. My heart hammers. My blood pumps faster. My dick rises, matching the phallic symbols around us. She leans against her desk, mimicking my stance, and I notice the hint of cleavage in the opening of her blouse. I've had those breasts in my mouth. I've nipped those nipples. I've had her begging me for more. I'll have you know my interest in pickles is because my late husband hated them. He hated pickles? My eyes leap up to hers, tugging away from those tempting tits.
He hated phallic symbols.
He? What?
Never you mind. Just leave. You said your piece. Now get out and let me return to work.
There is no way I'm leaving yet. I have got to know more here. Besides, my own phallus is ripe and ready for peppering. To work with penis imposters?
Yes, no. With the pickles.
Which you like to coat in special sauce. I make a motion with my hand, jerking up and down an imaginary cylinder object. And man, that is a bad move, because I want her hands on my cylinder, working me up.
Well, no, not exactly.
Her chest heaves, and that blouse opens a bit, spreading the material to give me a better view of her breasts. Because you like to play with dick, I tease.
I beg your pardon?
She retorts, turning bright red and leaning further toward me. Remember, you don't have to beg with me, darling. I pause to let the words sink in until her widened eyes display her recollection of our first meeting. If I offered to let you work with mine again, would you deny me?
Her breath catches.
That swell of breast appears. I'm so hard I'm ready to burst, and I need a taste of those lips, hanging open and softly panting. Desk sex, I say, lowering my voice in suggestion.
I never.
I lean across the desk, curl my fingers into her silky blouse, and gently drag her to me. My mouth crashes against hers, lashing her with my tongue. She quickly responds, matching the eagerness of this kiss until she's on the move, climbing up on the desk to her knees and scooting over the surface to press up against me. Her arms circle my neck, and I tug her to my chest with my fingers hooked in her blouse.
You're a vile man,
she says against my lips, but her bark has lost all its bite. But you want me, I counter, assured by the eagerness of her mouth on mine.
God, yes,
she whimpers. She wants me badly, phallus parts and all. Her fingers delve into my hair as mine scrunch up the material of her shirt. A button pops off her blouse, exposing those luscious breasts to my hands, and I flatten my palm over her racing heart. I like laying my skin against hers. She feels real to me when I touch her. My other hand slips around to her ass, cupping a firm globe and tugging her tighter to me. She's still on her knees, leaning over to kiss me. Continuing to kiss her, I step back so she can swing her legs over the edge of the desk. Something falls to the floor, scattering over the carpet. Really want to do this here? I say to her, slipping my hand to her knee and then working it under her skirt. More skin, more touch. The hand on her chest slips to the back of her neck, bringing her mouth back to mine while my fingers massage up her thigh. I can't get enough of her.
Yes,
she whimpers again, without removing her lips from mine. Her fingers fist in the front of my shirt, holding me to her, while her other hand is buried in my hair, cupping my head. I tug at the scrap of fabric under her skirt, discovering the material flimsy, like the pair I found in her glove compartment. This woman likes pretty lacy underthings. I easily brush the soaked strip aside to get my fingers where I want them to go. My thick fingertip circles her briefly before I thrust my index finger inside her. Her mouth breaks from mine as her head tips back, and her fingers loosen on my shirt. She's still holding me, but she's falling into me, loving my touch. Like that, darling, I whisper to her neck, sucking at her skin while my finger strokes in and out of her wet heat.
I like everything you do to me,
she says breathlessly, and I grin, recalling our first time. She let me do so much to her that morning, and I'm ready for a repeat. Adding a second finger to the first, she cries out at the stretch, taking me deeper. Her head tips upward, and her eyes seek mine.
I like you best like this,
she says, and my grin twists to a crooked curl. I like you best like this. My mouth covers hers again for another rough kiss before my thumb finds the trigger spot to push her over the edge. Chester, she whispers, pulling back but staring directly into my eyes. I want you inside me again. Coming soon, darling. Gonna finish this first. My fingers move faster, pleasuring deeper, and she quickly breaks, opening her mouth but holding back the cry since we are in her office. As she settles, I work my buckle and zipper with one hand, shoving my pants down my hips enough to set me free. Then I'm hiking up her skirt and scooting her to the edge of the desk. Her arm slips around my neck, and I line up with her entrance. Condom, she states, breathless and desperate. I'm a little too old to carry them in my wallet, I retort, returning my mouth to her neck and holding myself just outside her, pressing the tip through her sensitive folds, ready to accept me into her. Top drawer, right-hand side. I freeze. I pull back to look at her. She's all sex kitten with half-masked eyes and puffy lips, but I'm wondering how often she does this if she keeps a box of condoms in her desk. I thought sex was a rarity for her. Maybe Pretty Boy gets her off after all. Still breathing heavily, her body stills as well. Her legs dangle off the desk on either side of mine, and her eyes give me that look, the one where she's concerned she'll lose me, the one where she's afraid I'll pull back. And I can't seem to help my retreat because I need to know what this is all about. This was my husband's old desk. They were his. How old are they? Over 7 years, she says, her voice cooling a bit as her hand slips from my shoulder to my chest. Her palm flattens against my heaving pecs, and I'm certain she can feel the hammering under my skin. And you still have them? I snort, as if it isn't an issue. But it kind of is to me. I was hoping one day I'd finally get to use them. What? What? Never mind, she says, pushing at me to step back. But I'm not letting this go. What does she mean she'd finally get to use her own husband's condoms? Explain this to me, I say, releasing my phallic part and tugging up one side of my pants as I sense us both shutting down a bit. My balls are going to ache bad if I don't get inside her. But I have to hear this. I can't. Avoiding looking at me, she tugs at her skirt to lower it and then fumbles with her blouse, realizing a button is missing. Clutching at the loose material with a fist, she slips off the desk and shimmies her hips. One-handed, she smooths down the remainder of her skirt. Scotia, what do you mean? This isn't making any sense. How did she not use the condoms with her husband? Only a brief glance meets my eyes and I see the security wall begin to slide around her. Sighing, she walks around the desk, leaving me to fumble with my pants, riding my zipper and buckling my belt while I'm still mostly hard behind it. I gaze back at her, and it's as if I see the armor curling around her and locking into place like a giant shield. Mr. Chesterfield, this is old news. My husband was killed in a case of mistaken identity, exiting a motel room after spending time with his lover. Your husband had an affair. The words insensitively tumble forward before I can catch them, but I stare at her, taking in her body. She's in excellent shape with an amazing figure. Great tits, perfect ass. Who cheats on that? Unless he couldn't take her mouth. Maybe she wasn't sweet with him in the bedroom like she's been with me. Was she verbally rough on him? Did she school him, scold him, scowl like she's doing at me right now? Yes. Thank you for so eloquently rewording it. He had an affair. Her voice turns haughty like it can, and the final link of armor slams into place. She's closed herself in and not letting me through the barrier. Don't do that, I demand. Don't do what? Don't lock up like that. There's no reason to let you in. She tips her head, opening a drawer of her desk. To my surprise, she pulls out the old box of condoms and sets them before me. Perhaps you're right. I shouldn't have kept these.
He had a small penis, and they'd never fit yours.
I choke out a bitter laugh. She can't be serious. Staring at her, I wonder who the hell she is and what the hell she's hiding inside. Where did the vibrant woman of minutes ago disappear to? A better question is, why? What if I come back with my own? I snark, hoping to restore a little humor to this awkward situation. Her eyes leap up to mine.
Mr. Chesterfield, we both know you won't be back in my office. What we had was one time.
What about this? I point at the disarray on her desk. My heart starts to beat triple time again. This cannot be happening.
This was a...
Don't, I growl, holding up a hand. I've heard the words before, and bile stirs in the pit of my belly. Don't need to tell me twice.
You and I were never going to be, Chester. It was a mistake to think you could come back for me.
Turning for the door, I see myself out, passing Pretty Boy on the way to the front door and wondering if maybe he could fill out those condoms for the phallus princess. Maybe he has a small penis, like her small heart.
9. Halloween surprises. Scotia. Happy Halloween! I call out to the boys when I enter the Harper house after my week banishment. I'm a few days early for Halloween, but I've brought each of the boys a treat in a plastic orange jack-o'-lantern. You spoil them, Morris says, greeting me with a smile and taking a few buckets from my hands. Every child deserves to be spoiled. I believe that. I spoiled my own child, maybe a little too much, but she was the only one I had when I'd hoped to have many. I miss my Darlene, but she's busy following in her father's doctor footsteps, saving the world one patient at a time as Carl did. A Simmons through and through. There's almost no trace of me in my grown daughter. Well, the boys will love this, Morris says as I follow her into the great room where they play. It's a beautiful room with 2-story windows that overlook the mountainscape, and on a sunny day, it's a glorious space to be in. I've missed them, I mutter. Maura catches my eye, knowing why I haven't been present. She must also know that Chester apologized, although I don't know if he included the fine details of his apology, an orgasm on my desk. Of course, there could have been more on that ancient piece of furniture, left over from my husband's years as a prominent pediatrician, if I hadn't killed the moment by mentioning the condom box. Why didn't you ever tell me Chester Chesterfield was the benefactor of this place? I ask Maura, who levels her eyes at me. Would it have made a difference? I consider my response carefully. No, but it still would have been nice not to be blindsided by him. I think he's the one a little blind lately. She winks at me and then calls out, Boys, we have a visitor. Her voice carries in the vaulted ceiling of the room. We both hear the scampering of feet, and for a second, I worry they won't be as excited to see me as I am to see them. Mrs. Pickle! Hunter cries out, and Louis almost plows him down, trying to get to me first. I'm circled in an embrace at my waist, which nearly knocks me over, but Maura catches me from behind. You're back, Louis says, his sweet voice coming to me as he lifts his head, but doesn't release his arms from around me. Yes, I am. I smile down at him. This child stole my heart the first moment I met him almost a year ago. Their story is so tragic, yet they've been given everything. They want for nothing except their parents, I suppose. Maura is the only parent most of these boys have known to give them love, and Chester fits the bill as well. How's Malik? I ask Maura, still stroking my hand over Louis's hair. I had to answer a strict questionnaire, pass sexual predator training, meaning I'm not one, and pass child protective services training, meaning I recognize signs of abuse, all to become a volunteer at this home. Maura keeps tight records on those who pass through the doors of Harper House. One thing I'd been told in my training was to withhold physical contact, but Maura assured me an occasional hug or an affectionate touch did not make me a sexual deviant or warrant pedophile concerns. I hope to never tell her how I know all about pedophile stigma and the types of people mislabeled with it. "He's missed you," Morris says, her eyes drifting to the chair where I sat when Chester kicked me out. Malik sits behind it, staring out the large window. "He goes there every day after his schooling." There still isn't any word on who Malik is or where he's from. He seems to have appeared from nowhere, and he's frightened of something. As Moore is a registered homeschool instructor, she doesn't send him to school. She worried about emotional or behavioral issues connected with putting him in school temporarily. Malik's caseworker agreed with the homeschool option until more is known about him. As long as he proves he's learning, which he does very efficiently and eagerly. He's bright, following Moore's instructions and more, but he still doesn't speak to anyone, not even the other boys. I lean forward to press a kiss to the top of Louie's head and hand him a pumpkin bucket. "For Halloween, a few days early," I tell him. Maura helps me distribute the remainder of the treat bags, and then I lower myself beside Malik. "Malik, precious," I speak softly to him, and he turns to me, eyes widening. Offering him the biggest, most genuine smile in return, I say, "I have something for you." Holding out the container, I watch him glance at the gift. His dark eyes are nearly saucers. "It's okay. You can take it." The package holds more candy than a sweet store, a T-shirt with a pickle carved like a jack-o'-lantern, and the words, "Keeping it in the family," because cucumbers are related to the gourd family, of which pumpkins are a member. We sell another shirt with a pickle and sunglasses and his thumb up saying, "Gherkin it," but that didn't seem appropriate for a child. There's also a book inside every bucket, one I specifically picked for each child with the help of Naomi's recommendations. As a local librarian, she's well versed in children's reading interests. "How have you been?" I ask him, but his response is only a shrug. "Morris says you're doing well with your schoolwork." Malik's big eyes examine each item in the bucket, lovingly holding them up before setting each aside. He isn't looking at me, but instead fighting a grin at the T-shirt I've given him. Next, he reaches for the book, Artemis Fowl. "I hope you like it," I say as his hand skims down the front cover, and he flips it to the back. "It's yours to keep." His head pops up, and he stares at me, his eyes questioning mine. I have my own set of inquiries. "Who are you, precious boy? Where did you come from? Did somebody hurt you? Because I can't imagine running away from anywhere unless you were hurt in some manner. Deputy Frederick Boone has been out to investigate, but as Malik wouldn't go to him, Maura had to snap a picture of Malik from her phone and share the image so the authorities could conduct their search. Malik's case is a reverse situation. A child has been found, but we don't know where he's lost from. "Should we read it together?" I offer, and Malik flips his position so he can sit with his back to the windows. I scoop myself to the wall, keeping my legs bent and angled awkwardly to my side because of my skirt. I open the book. "Chapter 1, I begin, when a loud voice immediately interrupts us. "It looks like Halloween puked in here," Chester says, scanning the room littered with boys, candy, wrappers, and unpacked plastic pumpkins. "Mrs. Pickle is back," Louis excitedly tells his uncle. "She brought me my own copy of the Red Pyramid," Dewey announces him. Hunter is already wearing his T-shirt over his other clothing, along with a pair of sunglasses with pickle-shaped lenses. "How do I look?" he asks. "Pickle-licious," Campbell answers, and the boys break into laughter. Malik softly grins next to me and curls against my arm, tilting his head as if he can hide behind my small bicep. Chester meets my eyes and stiffly nods. "Mrs. Pickle," he states, and I dip my chin to him in return. So this is how it will be. Formal instead of familiar. Of course, I didn't expect anything else. Expectation is the work of the devil. When you expect something, you are sure to be disappointed. That's been a motto all my life. I've worked for all I have, Darlene and my business. I worked with Carl, but not in the way people would think. The devotion to our marriage took that word to a level different from an average couple. Chester busies himself with the other boys, and I admire how he treats them as equals. I don't know the full story, other than 3 are siblings. Maura is a mother figure to all the boys, but the 3 Maverick children do not call her mom. They had their own mother. He doesn't want them to forget her, Maura once told me, never offering me their mother's name or the private patron to this facility. This large house is really more a private home with a collection of loving people living here, but it is also state certified as a licensed foster home. I don't understand all the particulars, but it never mattered. I'd been searching for a place to volunteer in child-related services when Maura found me through Naomi. Chester lowers his large body to the floor, sitting eye level with the boys and listening to their exploits. Watching him, I see him as a different person once again. He's been Chester, the successful businessman, and Big Poppy, the gruff biker. But this new side is another contrast. Uncle Chet is compassionate and caring toward his nephews. He's watching them, interested in what they are saying, and adding his own thoughts to their conversations. He isn't just present, he's involved. When he catches me observing him, I lower my head once more. My attention returns to Malik. It's okay, precious. Remember, I told you he is a good man. I don't actually know how good Chester has been to the boys, but I have a sense Uncle Chet adds another dimension to a complex and kind human being adored by these children. You don't need to fear him, I tell the boy huddling at my elbow. Malik meets my eyes and nods. He taps the book, so I begin reading. Despite soulful eyes pressing on me from across the room, I don't look up. Instead, I concentrate as best I can on the adventures within the story in my hands. Chet, it's time for dinner, Savannah eventually announces, and I realize I've lost track of time. My head lifts to the dark windows, and I curse inside as I hate driving down these mountain switchbacks at night. My older eyes trick me. Smiling down at Malik, I direct him to wash up as requested, and notice Chester watching the young woman standing at the edge of the room. Savannah is some sort of kitchen help, mainly with cooking support, as Maura is a busy house mother of 5, now 6 boys. I note how she addressed Chester moments ago. Chet. Only people closest to me call me Chet. Just how close are Savannah and Chet? Savannah is a pretty thing, possibly in her 30s, quiet and sweet, and holding the interest of one man in this house. Chester can't take his eyes off her, and Hugh says something to his uncle. The teenager laughs, and Chester's eyes find mine across the room. Then he reaches out for Hugh's ankle as the teen walks away. The boy trips to the floor, and Uncle Chet holds him in a headlock, rubbing his knuckles in the boy's hair. Ruckus ensues. Louis and Hunter run to the rescue of the eldest house member while Campbell and Dewey can't be bothered. Savannah observes all this with a tiny smile on her lips, and I wonder if she's just as intrigued by the man wrestling with the boys on the floor. They'd make a stunning couple, even though he's more than a decade older than her. Both have dark hair and deep-set eyes with tall statures. She's thin to his solid frame. My imagination drifts to her under him, similar to how he was once over me. I don't like that image. Mrs. Pickle, stay for dinner, Savannah addresses me, although both adult women know my real name. I roll to my hands, positioned on all 4s, and then use the edge of the chair partially hiding me to help me stand. Oh, I best be going, I say. I give another hesitant glance to the darkness beyond the window. Why did I stay so long tonight? We have plenty, she says, pointing over her shoulder toward the dining room. She said she needed to go, Chester interjects, flipping a final child tenderly over his shoulder and riding him to his feet. A loving uncle swats at Louis's backside, who runs off to wash his hands. He remains on the floor, catching his breath with his hair standing on end. Why can't she stay? Uncle Chet, Hugh interjects, becoming my defender as he did the day I was kicked out. She said she had to go. Chester counters again, scrambling my thoughts. I didn't say that. Not exactly. And his dismissal of me encourages me to counterattack. On second thought, I'd love to stay for supper.
Chapter 10. A Slice of Honesty. Chet. Of course, Scotia stays for dinner and then hangs out afterward, helping Savannah clean up and reading Louis a final bedtime story. Once I do my rounds to say goodnight to all, I head down the stairs and find Scotia putting on her coat in the large front entryway. I've decided to stay the night in a guest room kept for me off the kitchen. Savannah addresses Scotia as she stands near our guest.
"Thank you for your help tonight."
"It was my pleasure," Scotia replies. As I hit the bottom step and land on the entryway's tile flooring, Savannah looks up at me.
"I'm finished in the kitchen, so I'll be heading out."
"Sure. Have a good night."
"I guess I'll be going as well,"
Scotia states. "You still here?" I mock, and instantly regret the words. I step closer to where she stands near the front door. Scotia reaches into her pocket for a pair of gloves. Watching her slide them on, I replay the night's interactions. Louis admires her more than I'm comfortable with. Malik is like a shadow to her. She asked Hugh and Campbell about the MMA classes. Dewey enjoyed conversation with her about some popular book I know nothing about. And Hunter teased her about her hair. She smiled at him. A genuine reached-her-eyes smile. And those orbs sparkled like polished silver. "Why are you here, Scotia? Why are you volunteering at this home?"
"I already told you. I was looking for volunteer work and—"
I raise 2 fingers and cover her lips, stopping her babble. "I want the real answer, Scotia. Be real here." My voice softens as I slide my fingers down her chin. They twitch to continue the path along her neck and around to the nape. And I'm still raw from our sudden end the other day in her office, and she's been distant with me all night. She shrugs.
"My husband was a pediatrician. He loved children."
She smiles weakly.
"I thought this was a good way to continue his mission."
Does she think of her late husband often? Her actions honor him, but I remember learning he had an affair. I also recall how she retains a box of his condoms. Can she not let go even after he broke their marital vows? "You really loved him, didn't you?" It seems a silly question to ask. Of course she loved her husband, but something in her eyes has me questioning her marriage all the same. "Do you miss him? Your late husband?"
"Carl was my best friend,"
she says, her eyes avoiding mine.
"But I hated him."
Her eyes close.
"God forgive me."
Her hand lifts to cover her mouth and mine tips up her chin, forcing her to open her eyes and look at me in the dim light of the entryway. The sweet vulnerability has returned to them for a second.
"Being married to him was exhausting,"
she says, and for a glimmer of a second, I see she's being very real with me.
"And I don't know why I tell you these things,"
she mumbles, more to herself than me. I nod, realizing I don't need more details about him tonight. I still want to know why she chose Harper House for her volunteer work, though. "Nathan told me you have 1 child. It's not a question, but I'm hoping she'll tell me more." My fingers slip from her chin to her cheek, curling loose hairs around her ear. My eyes focus on the white strip.
"Yes. A daughter named Darlene. She's a doctor like her daddy. He would have been so proud to know she follows in his footsteps."
She pauses until my eyes pull away from the pigmentless strip and meet hers.
"He wanted a boy, someone to carry on his family name, Simmons. They were lawyers and doctors and advanced education professionals. I never finished college. I got my MRS instead."
I don't know the Simmons name, and it takes me a minute to realize MRS means she became a Mrs. I softly chuckle as my fingers absent-mindedly continue stroking her hair. Nothing to be ashamed of, darling. I barely finished high school, and I'm still a success. So are you, I remind her.
When Carl passed, lots of things happened. And then I started my business in pickles.
She quietly laughs to herself as though she holds a bitter joke inside. And I want to know the secret.
When I was nominated for Small Business Entrepreneur of the Year for a female-led company, the one thing holding me back from winning was the fact I didn't have any community service.
My fingers stroking her hair over her ear still, and my eyes meet hers again. My skin bristles. Is this why she's here? To beef up her resume? Words climb my throat, ready to tell her once again to get out. Her eyes try to hold mine, and she interjects before I speak.
I wanted to help where I could. Help some child fulfill his dream because, I have my reasons,
she huffs, stiffening her shoulders. I wish there'd been someone who wanted to help me fulfill my dreams when I was a kid. No one read to me when I was little, brought me Halloween treats, or gave me kind kisses on the head. All I got were slaps and insults until I started working for Frank Sepko. He's the person who really turned my life around. But I was a late bloomer. I'd been 20 when that happened. What do you know about the boys? Thinking of Davis and Harper, I swallow against a lump in my throat. Our voices have remained low despite the fact we are the only two standing in the entryway. The darkness here somberly surrounds us, keeping us cocooned close to one another.
Enough. They all call you Uncle Chet, but you're not related to any of them by blood. Hugh, Dewey, and Louie are siblings who lost their parents. Hunter was left on the doorstep and adopted by Mara, while Campbell was a kinship placement, meaning the state asked Mara to take him in as she's a distant relative to him.
You know enough, I say. I won't let anything hurt them, blood or not. If you're volunteering here to plump up your resume, you'll need to quit. I won't let you list this place somewhere to soothe your soul. You won't get a reference from us. Harper House is privately owned and operated. We follow strict guidelines. We exist for the boys. We will not be fluffing her feathers.
I'd never expose them like that,
she defends, holding her head higher, and my hand slips to the side of her throat.
You've done so much for them. You really are a good man.
My hand pulls back from her, feeling unsteady with the compliment.
Why do you do it?
She questions, and I step back, unprepared to share all my secrets with her. She watches me retreat, eyes softening while she struggles to shut herself off. I'm not certain who needs to protect who here.
Do you really think I'm an evil witch?
I don't think you're a witch, Scotia, I sigh, struggling with my thoughts. You're an entitled woman who is easily bored with things, started a business to say fuck you to your late husband, and then took on this place to clear your conscience. She flinches, hurt stinging her cheeks, and I instantly feel guilty. What I said might have been too harsh, too real, but I don't think I'm completely wrong. She'd grow bored with me after a while, using me as a phallic plaything. And she'll get bored of these boys with their ruckus and roughhousing. When she peers back at me, the shutters are shored up, and she's shut down on me. I'm sorry. That might have been too much.
You wanted to be real,
she whispers.
I see where I stand.
Where do you want to stand? I question before I consider what I might be asking. Could she stand by a man like me? Take on these boys and love them as I do?
Seeing as you have me all figured out, Mr. Chesterfield, I don't suppose it matters.
Although I've stepped back from her, we're still only inches apart. Her chest begins to heave in her winter jacket, and I feel her breath reaching me with her sharp exhale after her statement. I reach for the white strip in her hair, twirling the locks around one thick finger and spiraling down the length. I hate when you call me Mr. Chesterfield, I say, feeling like it's a derogative dig, or maybe she's trying to remind me she thought I was someone else, And I'm standing here proving I'm not him. I'm not some rich dude with millions in oil, but just some guy doing the best he can. She'd be disappointed to learn the truth. "I hate you like this," she whispers. My eyes flick to hers. She told me she liked me the other day on her desk. She told me she liked me in a hotel bed. There's disappointment in her voice tonight, and something pressed on my chest. I'm breaking the illusion she has of me. She liked my dick. But me? Not so much. Maybe it's for the best. Why do I care how she feels about me? My eyes remain on that swatch of hair. I start at the top again, wind it around my finger, and slide down to the ends. "And I suppose I've kept you from enjoying your evening with someone." I stop my motions and stare at her. My nostrils flare. "Careful. You're as green as your pickles." "I'm not jealous," she stammers, fighting words never so untrue from a woman. "It's okay, darling. It's a good color on you." Her mouth pops open, but I don't let her have the last word. My mouth covers hers. She stills a second, surprised perhaps, but then she gives in to me. She falls against the front door, and I press my large body against hers. I brace my forearm against the closure near her head, while my other hand wraps around the back of her neck. This isn't meant to build, to tumble us down to the entry room floor. This is only a kiss, to tell her where she stands with me. Against the front door. In Harper House. With my body over hers. And my lips attached to her. Not anyone else. There's only Scotia. And I can't explain why she's under my skin and often in my thoughts. Again, I'm sorry I kicked you out. I whisper against her lips, hoping this time she doesn't consider my apology weak. "I'm glad to be back. I miss the boys." She smiles slowly, her mouth still against mine. "Is that all you missed?" Her smile grows, and she kisses me back one more time before leaning away from me, head lightly tapping the door at her back. I struggle to fight a smile mirroring hers. "I kinda like you like this," I tease, and then I reach around her for the doorknob. If she doesn't leave, we might end up on this entryway floor, after all. Since I spent the night at the house, I wake early to have breakfast with the boys before they start their day. "Uncle Chet, you ask any girls out lately?" Hugh asks, and I choke on my cereal, thinking he saw me kissing Scotia last night in the front hall. "Ask who out?" "Anyone," he states. "I think you should ask out Mrs. Pickle," Louis interjects, and my head lifts. Whatever ask out means. "He means make out. He should kiss her," Campbell explains, and I almost drop my spoon. He's 10. How does he know these things? "Kissing? Ooh," Louis moans. "He means date, as in Uncle Chet should ask Mrs. Pickle out on a date, take her to dinner, maybe a movie." Dewey's been the one offering an explanation, and I stare at him. When did he get date-wise? I paused that question and moved to a different one. "Why would I date Mrs. Pickle?" "Yeah, she looks like a skunk," Hunter says. "She does not," Louis defends. "Boys," I interject. "Because then you could marry her, and we could be a family." Dewey's words stun me. They also make me feel a little sick to my stomach. Does he not feel like we're a family? He has me, although I'm no prize. He has Mara. Does he miss his parents? Of course he misses them. Davis and Harper were amazing together and amazing with their children. They were a perfect family. As Dewey's eyes lower to the table, I don't have time to address my concern when Campbell speaks again. "She doesn't smell like pickles," Campbell adds, shifting the conversation away from the sad head dive it was about to take. "She smells pretty." She does smell nice. Fresh, expensive, Fruity even, but understated.
She does too smell like pickles,
Hunter insists, then giggles.
Does not,
Louis argues next, but I can't take my eyes off Dewey.
Of course, you probably shouldn't ask her to marry you unless you love her, and make sure she loves you back. It's hard when you love someone when they don't love you in return.
My spoon clatters to the bowl as I stare at the middle maverick boy. What does he know of unrequited love? Who has hurt him already?
Who said anything about love?
Campbell questions.
We're talking about kissing.
We aren't talking about kissing, I stammer, sensing that one day I'm going to have a talk with each and every one of them about kissing and women and protection for both their peckers and their hearts.
You're talking about love because you're all in love with Clementine,
Hugh teases of the middle brother.
Am not,
Dewey defends, his face heating the fire engine red.
Are too,
Hugh teases back. Who's Clementine? I interject, picking up my spoon, but no one listens to me.
You're just jealous,
Dewey retorts.
Oh, right, like I'd be jealous over a mini Professor McGonagall,
Hugh snorts.
It's Professor Trelawney, and she does not look like her.
Dewey stammers in defense, the red of his cheeks turning purple in anger.
Okay,
what's this? I hold up my spoon, tipping it toward Dewey. You like a girl at school? I can't handle a second boy becoming girl-obsessed like Hugh. My thoughts flip back to last night and the kiss in the entryway with Scotia. She turns me upside down and all around, and I feel like I'm chasing my tail with her. 1 minute sweet, 1 minute bitter. Yet I might have a crush on her like my boy Dewey has on some girl.
She's just a friend,
Dewey says, but the heat in his cheeks tells me there is more in his heart toward this girl.
They're Harry Potter nerds,
Hugh drones.
We are not,
Dewey whines, pushing his glasses up the bridge of his nose and reminding me of the fictional character. Hugh, don't pick on your brother like that, I warn. One day your brother might be all you have, I want to add. Davis was that brother to me, and then he was gone.
Even you call him that,
Hugh retorts, nodding at me, and I swallow back the scolding as he isn't wrong. I don't understand Dewey and his mind. I marvel at his smarts, but I don't try to comprehend his intelligence because I just can't. Sometimes his nerdiness befuddles me. Dewey's wide, soft eyes look up at me. Minus the glasses, he's Davis in miniature. He doesn't ask me if it's true. His eyes give away his hurt. Suddenly I'm helpless, wishing to defend myself, but I can't. My heart rips in two. Dewey lowers his spoon to the table.
May I be excused?
He asks, keeping up his manners while probably wanting to disappear under the table. I know I want to. Do, I say softly, but he slips from the seat, running up to his room. Damn it. This is why I can't be in charge of children.